Dawn could sit up here if she needs to.
Yeah, Dawn, do you want to come up to this side?
You could come up here and sit up here.
It's okay.
You sure? We got another chair.
Yeah, no, I don't feel comfortable.
I got one right here.
Yeah, I'll just sneak
Sit
in.
in the hot seat.
Yeah, no. Just sneak in here.
There you go.
So all you people from Wilson Lake area, huh?
Quite a bit.
Yes.
Not much, boating this year out there, huh? Too flooded, huh?
Well, there's a bunch of boats out
There's
there
some
yesterday.
Oh, is it getting better now? The more, I've heard a lot of the on-ramps are not open, huh?
Well, someone said they saw on a post that they're closing the lake down, I mean, the ones that are under through July now, the state is. That's what they said came on the Hayes post.
You can still
Yeah,
get
you
in
can
the
still
lake.
get on.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's just the camping areas and stuff.
Okay.
Okay, thank you everyone for coming, and we will open to hear from Wilson Lake Estates representatives. That's what we have on the agenda.
I'm Alan Fabricius, president of the Homeowners Association at Wilson Lake Estates, Lincoln County Edition. As I'm sure you're aware, we had a pretty major road cave off here, give or take a month ago, and contacted county individuals to come out and take a look and give us an idea what their thoughts and plans were. And so I guess we're here on behalf of the Homeowners Association to see what the county's plan is to repair the road and move forward.
What was presented to you as far as communication?
We were invited to come and talk to you.
I'm sorry, but from our highway department, did you
I
meet with
talked to
Mr. O'Hare?
Michael O'Hare. I've never
Okay.
formally met him. I've talked to him on the phone.
You just
Hi,
spoke to him on
Michael.
the phone? Okay.
Alan Fabricius. We've talked on the phone numerous times, and the last communication we had was that he had talked to the commissioners and had the commissioners had asked that we come in and visit with you folks, and so we got put on the agenda for today and invited everybody to come, and I guess we're here to see what your plan is.
Okay.
Well, first of all, I have a question is, and then maybe it's obvious to you guys, but not to me, about are some of these private roads versus public roads or a combination of both? And I know when they built a lot of those estates, a lot of times the owners, like some of you guys, just had a lot and built a house out there and created a road to it. And that might have been like a private type of road at one time, but I suppose now since the last 20 years, you got mail service and this and that now, it's probably maybe a public road. Is that true?
No, actually, what my understanding is that all of the roads out there, now there have been some minor changes, but all of the roads out there were on the original plat, and the original plat was approved in the 1977-ish, I want to say, by the county commissioners.
Okay.
And according to the Attorney General's opinion in '91, that by accepting that plat, the county had responsibility for those roads from that
Okay.
day forward.
Okay, I was unsure of that. Thank you. I didn't know.
That's my understanding.
This is the original.
Okay.
This is.
I believe that's a copy of the original.
Yeah.
Does this look like the plat that everyone from the
There's
original?
some modifications that I put on there from where it was originally platted
Okay.
to roughly where they exist now. So,
So currently, I'm assuming all of you have properties along these roads. Is Lincoln County performing the maintenance?
There is a certain degree of maintenance being performed on those roads.
What is being done or what is not being done?
But when there's snow, they come through and they knock off the snow.
It's
When there's
been,
rain, they
they've
come in and
graded it,
grade
there
it.
has been material added over time. So, I mean, there's a certain degree of maintenance being done on those roads.
A sign or two put up, but yeah, there is some regular minimum maintenance, like grading that is done throughout the year.
Has the Homeowners Association requested any particular maintenance that the county has responded to in the past?
We have not requested any particular maintenance, but in, after the Attorney General's ruling in, I think it's
Yeah, that's right.
92,
I
93,
did. I'll take those. That
let
one.
me
Thank
look
you.
here. I've got in 92, Lincoln County presented the road improvement project for that area. March 18th, 1992.
I think the worst part of the roads is down by that Girl Scout, Boy Scout camp and come off the highway and that deal thing and then that one big hill, those are, get pretty rough. Because the water, drains
They're
down
pretty-
because of the hill.
They're pretty steep, yes.
Yeah, and that's a hard one, but sometimes it's pretty bad to even try to get up it.
Do we supply rock to that now and gravel? Or-
Yes.
Oh, we do.
That area.
You maintain some of them already with graders and everything.
Yes, sir.
I guess
It's
to,
not
to
wrong.
finish out Margaret's statement, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the proposal that the county put in front of the homeowners at that time was unanimously turned down by the homeowners because it was incredibly minimal. And from what I've read, and go ahead.
Oh, okay, just a little correction, the 1992 proposal that was given to us, we didn't reject that.
Okay, I got my dates wrong, I apologize.
Yeah, it was later on, in 99, we rejected the Lincoln County's request that they be, relinquished, I guess, from all maintenance and liability. We turned that down, and I have the response for that. That was in February of 1999. But as far as the original road improvement project in 92, we accepted that.
And what are the details in there? I have never seen that.
Well, I can let you make a copy if you'd like to.
Would you do that? So,
If you want to make a copy of it,
Okay, so this is
I'd like
called-
to have that back.
sure, Wilson Lake Estates Road Improvement Project, and this
Yes.
was accepted by your board, presented in 1992, it says March 18th, and you're saying that after that, in 99, the
Right,
county requested to basically be let out of this agreement, is
exactly.
how I'm assuming, okay.
Is there a regular maintenance schedule, that's what I'd like to know that out there? Obviously, because of the rain, it could be backed up all over the place, that's all I wanna know.
No, it's not a set schedule.
You don't come by like every other week, or, I mean, because some weeks are pretty good out in the county, and I'm sure you guys are caught up, and I know recently, probably not, you won't be for a while.
They didn't even say that they could.
But there's no regular
They just
maintenance
wanted us to
route
sign
Well,
it.
He does it as a routine when he does everything. The Blake guy has almost 110 miles that he takes care of. So, after the rain, the guys try to get on it, and they'll sweep through and get everything done. They'll come through, do the gravels first, and they'll follow up and get the dirt stuff. And in the drought years, there's a lot of times where they didn't have to be out near as much, as far as smoothing the roads. They're out there more or less cutting the weeds off the edges and stuff like that. But, it's kind of a weather-driven maintenance schedule.
But in the county, there's no schedule whatsoever that they work on, I'm just saying, I'm not criticizing,
No.
I'm just asking because,
There's not.
I would figure that the bus routes are pretty well taken care of every time.
Yeah, each guy's, we have a road classification system, and we try to work them from the top down.
We've been out there 23 years, and I had a situation arise, we were out there maybe 50% of the time in January, and actually I called the road department, and they were pretty responsive. I mean, eventually the director, and what's your position?
Director of Public Works.
Okay, well, somebody came out there, an older gentleman,
Okay.
and he looked at the situation, and it was just a muddy mess. And we're right up on a pretty flat part of the road. And part of the problem, as I saw it, is there really is no rock and gravel being put anywhere. It's all silt and finer stuff. And so, and we have nice ditches and stuff. And I just don't see that you can work with that and improve the way it is. And it's not because somebody didn't come out and look at it. And I think what happens is each individual landowner sometimes just tries to deal with the problem with the county, and of course that just does not work. And so it's, so like I say, that's our situation.
The particular area that we're addressing, I assume, as a group right now is the landslide, I'll call it for lack of a better term. And that, I did notice that the road leading to that, coming down off of the hill where you first turn on, does not have ditches that are maintained. In fact, they're in and almost humped up. There's a lot of wash that you can see is just rolling right over top of that area. Someone did, I'm not sure if you're here, someone did put gravel on that road because there's some,
It's him.
I did
Okay.
for 30 years.
you've been,
In that, the road that collapsed.
yes, because I noticed some rock gravel there.
We did that, less than probably 6 weeks ago. And
Right
it
before,
lasted
right
2
before it
weeks.
washed out.
Okay,
And
Do
we've
it.
done it too, the one
Yeah,
went off.
they've done it also, but we've not seen anybody.
so do you both live down that lane and, okay,
I've never seen any maintenance there for 30 years.
they don't come down that road?
Oh.
They just, because I did notice that the grader had come down the road coming into yours,
Yeah.
where that cross section, and then they go
Right.
down towards
Yeah.
the south, kind of. But they don't come up to the north, that goes to the north and around. Okay. And so do you have a response as to what you think the county needs
Yeah.
to?
There's evidence both ways, you know, like he said, we haven't been out there 30 years, you know, and that's well before my time at the county, and especially the position I'm in now. But, you know, ultimately, I think it's gonna have to be a board decision. Either you guys say we do it or we don't. You know, there's a state statute that claims that, if we have not taken care of a road for 20 years and somebody requests that the road be taken care of, that it's up to that person to get it up to specs and then present it to the county to take it over, you know, and, you know, it's no hardship on anybody, or I don't wanna say hardship, don't have the right word, but you know, it's nothing intentional, it's just, we've never done anything there. And that's the way I was taught to do it. And I believe the last time that I was back there, which was probably close to 15 years ago, I was pointfully asked to leave, that I was trespassing, you know, and so am I gonna go send a motor grader down there after I get in trouble having a pickup in there? No,
I can't hardly believe that someone told you to leave, because I knew all the neighbors, and not one of them were hostile, and I don't know
I couldn't
anybody
even
would
tell you who it
to
was.
leave. You have a name, can you describe it?
I can't, it's been a long time ago.
You don't know
I
who it
don't
was.
remember.
Since you've been director of
Two of
public
them are
works?
sitting here right
No,
now.
this was,
I mean,
Yeah, there was an
I mean-
incident about 6 or 8 years ago. I caught the maintainer guy down there, and I went up and he stopped and we talked a little bit. And where it comes around that corner, that ditch, I said, you know, that ditch is filled up with sand and dirt again. Can you get your maintainer in here and pull that out? He said, well, I'll try that. He did. Pulled the grader back, put the grader in there and pulled that out, and that worked good
yes.
for maybe 2 or 3 years, and then it filled up again, and I went down with a shovel and moved it out. But he did back in there and maintain, you know, maybe, 20, 40 feet of that road, but that's as far as he went. But you're right, I have never seen him go all the way down in there. But he did maintain that one point.
So for those of you who live down that lane, you said that they haven't been grading that road. Do they do snow removal?
We don't do anything.
Nothing.
We do
Well,
not.
would the equipment even fit down that narrow road though? That's what I
Sure.
wondered.
I'm sure it would.
Sure.
Yeah, you got.
I don't know, because I've never seen them go through something.
Oh, you got room. All you have to-
And I guess to bring it back with your comment, I understand that it hasn't been done, but has it not been done by our request or just because you guys didn't do it? And I guess I would think that would affect those statute of
Yeah,
limitations
I
as
don't
well.
believe that we've ever been requested to do maintenance along that road, that I am aware of.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it hasn't been done, but you know, this extends way back prior to my.
Right, and myself as well, I've been out there about 10 years, so a lot of this predates me, but.
You know, and I think there's been some issues on both halves on some of that, you know, I know that there's been some utilities put in and, you know, we were never directed that these utilities were getting put in, and I believe that's a violation of how you guys had it set up, that you guys have a committee set up to discuss it, and then they're supposed to, that committee's supposed to present it to the county to make sure it's approved, and, you know, it's just like coming down that hill that it's, we know there's an issue there, but I also know that there's a water meter setting right where we need to be working, you know. The utility was placed in some place that it probably should not have. So, you know, it's
I'm
something
just,
that
I'm
we
not
try to
interrupting, I'm
limit.
just curious, is that between you and Post Rock, or is that between you and us, as far as placement of those meters?
It should be between you and the landowner, and the way your bylaws or whatever, I believe I have a copy of them here somewhere that say that you have a committee that approves that stuff, and then you present it to the county, because if you're working within a county right away, we have to do a
I don't
utility
know about
permit.
utilities.
Marion was the committee guy for a
Yeah,
long, long
I'm-
time. We do that on improvements and such. I mean, if they're gonna build or add on.
Yeah,
I-
it's new construction and additions, but, we were, the cable and everything, we were never contacted, that was by Wilson Communications, and
No, they just came in
there's
and
there's
done
an
it.
easement there, 40 feet.
Yes,
There's a
that's
40 foot
agreed. I
easement.
wanted to point this out
We
to
don't
you.
really have any say so on that.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah, I was told at one time by Post Rock that I had no say,
Yeah.
that they were
And that's gonna have to stay within that right of way, but that's going to be determined as to the placement of the structure and what's going to work best for that utility company.
Yeah, as far as the lines that,
Light switch.
bring the utility in, yes, but the actual structure, like the meters and stuff like that, that all has to be done on private property. You know, individual household meters are not placed within
Right.
the county right of way. And, you know, I'm not an expert on dedication of residential roads, which in a sense, this is considered a dedication of residential roads essentially, which is by far a little bit different what I normally take care of, which is I call county road right of way. And, you know, it's never mentioned once in here that it's called right of way, it's always just been an easement, you know, that we have an easement on it. So, you know, I'm a little bit uneducated on that, and I apologize, it just seems like what we've done in the past, you know, if there's been an issue, we've taken care of it, and it's worked well. But with this issue, I realize it's a pretty big issue, and it's gonna cost somebody quite a few dollars, and I know that I visited with a gentleman that does a lot of work out there, Kenny Branda, and he said he's fixed that road at least twice prior for something very similar to what had happened already. And, you know, in my initial visit, and I know it took a couple days for me to get back to you, is he was like, well, I'll be getting on it, and I think he called you and everything else, so, you know, I didn't rush to call back and let you know that we even visited, because he just assumed it was gonna be his responsibility to fix it, you know, because that's what's always happened in the past. You know, and.
Yeah, which according to Kenny, it's, if I understood him right, it's happened once in that exact spot in the 1980s-ish,
79.
and once up the road a little closer to Bruce's
Yeah,
house.
it
somewhere
was 30
in that.
years ago.
But
Kenny fixed it and he put a pipe in 30 years ago. You know, and he had some extra concrete, but they put a pipe in 30 years ago, and we never had a bit of problem, but they never cleaned out.
Are you talking about the big culvert that goes
He's
under the
talking about
road?
one
Yeah.
on further down the road.
Right
closer to
by
his
Oh,
my
house.
house.
Oh,
There's a second
It
culvert.
washed out
Okay.
there,
Further
and
north.
Kenny, Norman, Kenny fixed it.
okay.
Never had a
Okay.
problem, but the last,
Well, I can tell you just from being out there and looking at it, with the ditches that are filled on the,
Yeah.
when you're standing at the bottom, looking, going up
all
around
the
the curve,
sand.
it's
from the
filled
road.
in and there's no way for it to drain. So it's definitely coming across the road, and that's an increased pressure over the edge,
Right.
and then that's obviously why it slid
Yes,
in
that's
an entire
correct.
section. And we've had an extreme amount of rain. My only concern is building up that road, you know, making sure that it's safe. What is our position on maybe cutting into the hillside a little more with that landowner, as far as making sure that we don't wanna just build that road up and drive on the edge.
Well, that one right-
Is anyone here that owns the house on the hill?
That one right above where the landslide is my property.
Yes, yeah,
And my laterals are in there, so you can't take anything out.
I saw that.
Now, you could possibly go down a little bit further and take some and then haul some in.
Not the dirt, I'm just saying to make
Relocate
sure that
the
we're,
road.
we don't want the road to necessarily even be, I think we need it to come in a few feet. Just for the safety and security of the ground underneath, because what we'd be doing on the bottom side is rocking that and creating a base and then trying to use fill dirt. But we don't, that's gonna take a while to settle, a long time, so we don't necessarily want vehicles putting a load on that outer edge. But I saw you had some lines going through there that were marked, flagged, so I don't know.
Well, those flags, I think, were the white flags, who put those in there? Is that that's a water line, I think.
Well,
That's a
they
post-
marked the water line, which Kenny disagrees with. He said Saturday, he doesn't think where it's marked, it's actually, I know they marked the water, the electric, the cable TV, that kind of stuff was all flagged
So
here
those are
recently.
not my flags.
I'm just concerned about, we may not be able to drive over top of whatever is there.
Right.
And we almost need that road to move into your hillside about 6 to 10 feet. Just so that the car width is no longer on the old road, but the car width goes to the interior, just for the safety of the security of the soil underneath, because.
Yeah, I don't see a problem, driving over a little further, but as far as digging that out.
No, not digging out.
Would be a problem because my laterals are right above.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
Not
I
digging
don't
it
see a
out, I
problem.
just don't know where your property line ends and where our right of way is, and I don't think it's, and I'm not an engineer, but in my mind, it wouldn't be smart to build that road up on the outside cliff and then just keep driving over top of it. You're kinda just using that to hold in the soil and the material that's already
And
there.
you can move that over, of course, that culvert is right there, you have to, where that culvert is, comes in there,
Uh-huh.
that's about where you wanna start,
Uh-huh.
so,
And
unless
people
it's-
have already been, their tire track goes off
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
side a
we're
little, I
driving
see
in
that,
the ditch
yeah,
now.
I see that.
That's the only way
fine.
they
Right.
can get to
Yeah,
the
I
property.
don't see a
Yeah, I
problem
think
with
there would
that.
have to be something on paper and, to
Well,
make.
that'd be part of the right of way. That,
It would be within the
right of way
easement if
goes
they're
beyond the
driving in the
ditch. So that ditch is part of the right of way, I can't control it.
But
And we also
even if-
talked-
Even if it is not, if everybody is accepting of this type of plan, that the county, in order to make it safe, if you need to go further to the east with that road, and everybody is in agreement, even if it's outside of that right of way, we can approve a variance.
The only thing I'm gonna say is, Mike, if you go, the only thing I'm gonna say, I'm right down here, and Don's property is way up by his deck.
Uh-huh.
That property he's talking about there, that belongs to somebody else.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't, it's mine.
It's
I
Don.
thought you said you're 10 feet from your deck.
No, I did not say that.
Okay,
The road goes down essentially.
so we know we can have some communication with you
There are
on
about 4 or
kind of
5
going
property
over.
owners that run along that road
I
that
mean-
we would be very happy to discuss that and say, hey,
Yes.
I think all of them would be willing to entertain the idea of, hey, if we need to move the road a little further east, let's talk about that and get a variance if that's what we need to do.
Okay,
I was there when the Kirkland engineer was there. I was there when
I'm
the
sorry.
Kirkland engineer was there, and he was explaining to me, and we've been out there for 23 years, and I know a little bit about geology, and he made a lot of sense, because he was saying that it needs to be moved back to get more on bedrock, so that you're not on loose stuff, and the next time it rains, it lubricates. it.
yeah, it's almost like shale
Yeah.
right there, and,
Yeah.
yeah.
and He made, and that's what you were saying, I think, he made good sense. I think Don's house is on bedrock, yours is sitting on bedrock, and so it's, you almost have to get that road away from that slump material that's going anymore.
So what I'm seeing in this agreement that was signed in 1992, let's see who's on there. I guess I don't see any signatures on this one in particular, but what it says on this page 4 is that the county agreed to begin regular routine maintenance of public roads in the Wilson Lake Estates subdivision per agreement. And subsection A says, add Wilson Lake Estates to the inventory of county roads, which was an estimated 2.35 miles. Do you think that's the total mileage of all of those lanes?
I'd say
that-
that's right.
Oh, I do too.
Mhm.
This is the main one coming right down there, that's what they're.
But see, this is the county line right
Yeah,
here, so
but-
it's just.
But, yeah, but there's that little loop there, I used to deliver mail there that goes down,
Oh,
there's a
okay.
cliff.
The issue's down here.
Excuse me.
That's where the issue's at, it's right there.
But I'm saying, is this 2.35 miles, is what I'm
I've
saying?
never measured it, but it could be close
Just-
to that. Yeah.
I'm
I would
just
say
trying to
that's
get a-
probably
Yeah,
a rough guess.
that entire development.
Yeah.
Well, and I think when you say a public road, I mean, it's obviously not private when you have multiple houses along the same road. It's not that the road stops and then there's a long lane for one property down here. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Well, that's,
6 separate properties along that road.
those are named, those streets are named now. You got Wilson Lake Estates, or what do they call it? I delivered mail up there here a couple years
Norman
ago.
Road.
Yeah. Or they have that
Like
loop.
Lake Lane Road.
Lake, that
I don't wanna
loop,
say.
that loop there, and then, yeah, you have mail delivery down there, so it is a public road.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know. Well, I think,
Is there three residences down that road, is
Right.
that correct?
Right. There are 3 currently.
But 6 parcels. It looks like to me, 6 parcels.
Three undeveloped.
So,
I think because there's 3 undeveloped,
uh-huh,
Yes.
yeah.
uh-huh. But somebody's paying taxes on those.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, they are.
it's Lincoln County. Yeah. Okay, so I would propose that we figure out a way to fix the landslide issue first. I mean, obviously that's a danger, it's a priority. I think with us having ourselves spread thin, it might be an idea to see if there's someone available we can be subcontracting with. That's my suggestion, unless you would like to try to take on that project.
I would not.
That's what I kind of imagined. So, suggestions, we're open to suggestions.
Kenny Brand has been in there a number of times, I think he's
Okay.
kinda has some proposals put together, some different proposals.
some proposals.
He gave us a verbal estimate on Saturday of somewhere in the 50 to 70,000 range is kind of what he threw out there, depending on material costs.
And
And
what's,
I know that's one of his concerns is getting material.
what is his proposed plan? to
His
stabilize?
proposal as described, and I'm no dirt guy, I'm no engineer, but he said what he would do is come in, clean that whole area down below till he got down to something solid. The existing material that's sloughed off there, he would move that to the west. And then once he was down on solid material, he would bring in dirt of a quality that he could compact. He would use his compactor. I don't even remember how many hours of compaction time he said he was figuring in there. A lot of compaction, and would build that back up in that manner. He's not talking about, I know you had
No
mentioned once, maybe
footings.
some pilings and that kind of thing. He did not mention anything like that.
No reinforcement type of
Not that I-
structure there, so that doesn't slide off
So
again.
it's potentially a 30-year fix, or?
Well,
You know, that's
Based
what I
on
would-
what's happened in the past, it's
Yes.
potentially a 30-year fix. I would say you're spot on there. And again, it depends on the next time we have a record amount of rain in the month of May too.
I think he also
Hopefully it shuts
proposed,
off.
I think he also proposed putting in another culvert from
Right,
the
that was part
corner
of his estimate.
down. He said that would take care of more of the water costs where the ditch is flooded. So his 50,000 included, I think he said $4,500 for a culvert that would go from the corner on down.
Onto Rajeski's property,
Yeah.
yes.
You know,
And
and I will say that culverts are very difficult to put in on those super grades. You know, if you're taking water and you're dumping it out and you're letting it extend past, you're gonna dig a hole.
Right.
You know, and I'm almost thinking that the way that culvert was put in could have played a key role in how this road slid away. You know, it just slowly started eating that loose fill and it just had too much weight above it, it just slid away.
No, because the washout was much further up the hill and away from it. You can see where it washed out clear up. I mean, there's at least 30 feet of pipe exposed, so that wouldn't have deteriorated back underneath there. The slope is
Not
correct.
underneath it, it exposed it further to the west and then everything went there.
At that
No,
point,
I
the
mean,
water
you
was
can
not going
see
down
the-
the culvert.
Well-
The ditch was plugged, the water came across the
Yeah,
road
you can, yeah.
and washed it down.
It
The
rolled
culvert
like
wasn't being
this.
used.
Right.
That's one of the
And-
major
But that
problems.
ties
And that's
back
also-
into your comment about the roads as you make that corner. There are no ditches there. I know
Right,
it's
the
a-
word is
it's a
called-
maintenance nightmare coming down that hill. But right now, right in front of your house, we've got a canyon.
Mhm.
And that water comes roaring down the canyon and runs over the road. Again, I'm no engineer, but it looks to me like, and I may or may not know, there's another house being built on the hill right above Don. They just started doing the dirt work on that, but I would think that somewhere in the area of that new house that they're building, or that curve, maybe there's an opportunity for a culvert to take that water and divert it off to the south into that draw where that pond is, before it has to come down to the end of that road and come down that hill. Again, I
Right.
don't know.
No, you're right.
I
And
think if you could shoot some of that to the south and keep it away from there, it would greatly improve it.
that whole corner, or the radius it's called, is filled in,
Yeah.
and it's not
I'm
taking any
unaware,
runoff.
you know, I thought somebody told me once that that's almost solid rock right there, is that true?
It may be, I don't know.
We might not be able to trench a pipe in there, I don't know.
I don't know. I know there's a lot of rock out there.
There is a lot of sand and unstable soil.
I think on that rebuild, Kenny also said he never had a compactor 30 years ago. He said
Right,
put the
you're
equipment
right,
in
he did
today.
say that, he's got better equipment now,
He believed
so
it
maybe
was
it extends longer than that.
Alan, does he have an engineer on staff with him?
Does Kenny?
Yeah.
That I can't answer, does he do stuff engineered wise, or does he do it?
I think he just does it.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
I'd be curious, I know you had the Kirk and Michael guy out there, did he put any proposals or any ideas of what he
As
thought
far
ought
as
to be done?
dollars, no, but he did bring one kind of drawing. I don't know if any of you guys got to see it that one time, but I think it might have been the second time he was up. I believe he kind of shared the commission here that one day, but it was something they did similar up in Nebraska or Iowa, you know, and he said it's something that could potentially work. You know, there's a magnitude of other ways to do it, you know,
Sure.
either you put something else in or you just fill it, you know, and one's gonna be a little bit more permanent than
comment
the
in the
other,
back.
but one's gonna cost a lot more than the other.
Sure.
yeah, I would just make a comment that in my mind, because I have a construction engineering background, just turning an excavator loose to go excavate and move dirt around without doing the appropriate core samples and finding out what you're dealing with, that's one of the reasons that thing washed out, because it wasn't stable. And before you have somebody go in there and just start doing things and compacting soil without doing those core samples, or engineering a fix is going to be a huge liability for somebody, in my opinion. I would never just turn an excavator loose for $75,000 to go work that issue. I've seen it myself. I think there are loose soil issues there that needs to be addressed by an engineer that knows how to calculate that, instead of just bringing an excavator around and moving stuff around and trying to find bedrock and then compacting soil on top of it. I don't think that's an adequate fix myself.
Guess it depends on how much money we have.
Well, that's why you need an engineer to tell you what the options are. If he comes up and says it's gonna cost $190,000, then you may just wanna turn an excavator loose and say, I hope we get 30 years out of it. But it's
Well-
to the point now where an engineering person needs to look at that, take some core samples and make a determination from an engineering
Yes.
perspective, not just from an excavator
There's-
perspective.
And I apologize, you know, this takes time, you know,
I know.
and I know the people that live back there are the ones that are
But it needs to be
suffering the
done
most.
right.
But I agree, it needs to be done right, but the ultimate question that needs answered, in my opinion, is, whose road is it, who's paying for all this? That's my ultimate question, you know, and that changes the way I look at all of this, you know, cause I know it's gonna cost me $15,000 to have a court. That's just right there, 15 grand. So, you know, am I gonna put steel piling in, am I gonna put a rock toe wall in and vertical leaches that drain it out? I don't know, that's where my engineer's gonna have to come, but I can't employ an engineer on a road that I don't know I own.
May I see the request by the commission to relinquish them from this agreement?
And to answer Michael's question about whose road is it, that is part of Lincoln County's, that was a part of the
Agreed.
whole,
Originally in 1977 it was, but
Right,
where we
and it
haven't
was-
been there for 30 years, it no longer is ours after 20 years.
well,
You know,
You know,
I'm just
that-
going by state statute.
So if there was a lawsuit, somebody runs off that road and gets killed,
Yeah, now.
you think that 20 years is gonna?
Based on
Lincoln
state,
County from-
based on state statute, I believe so.
I think there's,
That happens, we'll figure out in a hurry.
Well, I'd like to take the discussion in another route. You all pay property taxes,
we do.
and you all
Oh, yeah.
expect some kind of service for your
Yes, we
property
do.
tax, and that's why I'm elected to make sure that that happens. You're in my district. I do care about how you feel about the services that you're getting from Lincoln County. I know you're paying in, and this is something that you'd like to see happen, so I'm in support of that from that angle.
Okay, and this is everything concerning that request.
This was the request that was denied by the
Right,
board.
this is the request that was denied. This is one response from our president at the time, that he would take this to the membership for a vote. They voted against it, and then this is the determination from the attorney, or the response from the association's attorney. That also includes, which I think is an important part of this, I want to show you.
The Attorney General opinion?
No, it includes a map
of all.
from Lincoln County determining which roads they're talking about, and it's all of them, even that dead end that has the
I
washout.
believe there's one road not on there that I can notice, and that's over there just right across from the cabins. In the original
This
plat,
corner?
there was a road that went all the way
bottom
through.
corner?
Yes. And that one also is marked private drive and gated off, so. By original plat, it would be county road if that's what you guys are holding to.
And
You know,
where is-
also-
Can you explain where that's at?
You know where the new lodges are built? Directly north of that?
That's existing.
There,
now.
that's all
Oh,
road.
okay,
Because I've
where
driven
there's
down
like
that
3
before.
houses
Delivered
that have
goods
it on.
there.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
No, I don't know, I've
Original
never been
road
down
up
that
through
one,
there, and I
that may
believe
not
a
be
house
on
might
the
be built
road.
on that original road.
It's marked private drive.
I do know over at the
I think
north
it's
end
marked.
that
Well, I
there's
think we
a
need to.
garage
This is-
built on
this is
top
where
of
we
the
are here
original
anyway,
plat
so
road.
I
should,
and-
Oh yeah, we've got 6
That's
foot.
where the road got moved, that's.
Yes, and
something
then
like-
a loop was added, and, you know, there's just been a lot of things that have happened that
I think we
were
might
done
need to
way
look at
before
a
my
different
time
engineer
here, and I'm
company.
getting
Oh, you
educated
don't
on
like
some
it.
of this along the way also.
For what he's doing for our
You know,
department, that's different, but
I don't have
Could
the
go.
answer, you
I don't
know,
know.
but ultimately
We
it'll
left
lay on
Schwab Beach.
the higher officials to make that
Oh,
determination.
yeah,
not
were
me.
they good?
You know, I can just
You don't
present
think Tanner
facts.
could do it good, or whatever?
I wasn't impressed with the ideas about 120th Road. Okay, so it was unanimously decided that at the meeting to decline signing this agreement. And
What did it change? Did you, the Wilson Lake, you guys wanted more services and the commissioners denied you?
so this
Is that what
this
happened
was,
in 1999?
no, this is the county requesting to
Oh.
the home association
Oh, okay.
to agree to this new version of what was signed in 1992,
Oh,
7
okay.
years prior, and it says the intent. The area known as Russell Estates and Lincoln Estates is becoming a thickly settled, unincorporated, and largely residential community along the RSLC boundary. For their mutual benefit, and as mutual consideration for entering into this agreement, the parties now agree to allocate certain responsibilities for roads and law enforcement in the platted areas of Lincoln Estates and Russell Estates, located west of Highway K-232 and east of Lake Wilson, as shown on Exhibit A to this agreement, attached hereto and incorporated by reference herein. The parties stipulate that except for Highway K-232, the road identified as county roads, shown in Exhibit A, fail to meet the minimum legal standards for county roadways, and in many cases are physically deficient for their construction. Okay, so basically they're saying, now we're reassessing the roads, we're determining that they don't fit within the purview of our ability to manage them any longer, so we'd like you to agree to this, and you said no. So originally, the agreement was that the maintenance was there, and you rejected this. Was there any further correspondence? Okay, so since 1999, it's just been up to the county to come and go as they please. There was no further official reconciliation between the boards. Okay. And it's saying they are not part of Lincoln or Russell County's secondary road system as defined in KSA 1701 and do not qualify for federal aid in certain circumstances. Well, we understand a lot of our roads don't qualify for federal aid, but they're basically trying to ask you to agree to remove them from what they agreed to here was add Wilson Lake Estates to the inventory of county roads at 2.35 miles, which was the board's decision, then the request for the revocation and the denial, and then that there was no further Was anyone around for that? You would have been around for this.
I can't.
But you weren't on the home.
Bill Obel was there.
Okay.
But Margaret, I don't know.
Margaret,
You're kind of, Margaret's kind of the official record keeper.
Yeah, I-
Unofficial record keeper.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I did not serve on the board or in any officer capacity at that time. But, from all of the correspondence that I have researched, there has not been any others, no other changes. And the county then, continued to maintain everything just as they are today, with the exception of that dead end.
Mhm.
And why it was not included, I cannot answer that, I don't know.
Okay. Look at that.
No.
I just wanted to verify the correspondence,
I
I
have
guess.
one question. I'm down there and so is my neighbor, Jay and his wife, so is my neighbor Larry. Is there any way, because it scares me half to death, you know, is there any way they could at least put some safe barricades so no one drives off? Because if they drive off, the liability, I mean, I don't know, it would be terrible because it's a.
It is, it's a straight
And
down.
right now,
It's a
they
sheer
got
cliff.
they got a wooden thing on both sides.
Do people
One here.
just travel down there just exploring?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, even though you
I
say
mean,
they'll,
it would be terrible if someone.
So
it's
maybe we
so
could put up a sign that
dangerous.
says,
Oh,
you know,
cause it's still falling in,
it's
you know,
getting
it's still
worse
caving
and
off.
worse.
yeah.
We
Yeah.
had a good
Could we
rain
put
With the
some
4th of
signage?
July weekend, there'll be
Don't
a
have
lot
nothing
of,
up there.
Yeah.
You know, it's
How-
unsafe.
If we barricade it with type 3 barricades, how will you all
The-
get back to your property?
the
That's my
planning-
concern.
The
Why
planning
would you more
that
than
planned
one
out
thing?
the
Put a
property.
fence up around it or something.
See, we
But
go
But the
through
Attorney
ditch.
General
We
says
go
that
through
if you
the ditch.
approve
Yeah,
the
we
plotting
go
on the
through
map,
ditch.
It's
you
getting
then
worse
have
and
take on
worse.
responsibility of the
Well, they
roads.
wanna leave the
Not
ditch,
good.
ditch open, they just wanna barricade
It's, yeah,
basically that road
because
where
it's
the
not,
drop
it's
off
not
is.
Yeah, that
private
side,
cul-de-sac
'cause it is
of a
continuing to
gated
fall
community,
in.
it's literal
Cause
just
other people
roadway.
wouldn't know, we
And they
know.
were planning out a development,
But other people don't know
No,
what's like
the
that.
4th of July, there's gonna be a lot more people.
say
there
that
will
again.
be, we have a lot
It'd
of
be terrible
people
if
drive
someone
through.
went down.
We had people all week from all over, didn't feel, but we told them to go and drive in the ditch to get to the house.
Absolutely.
You could put some kind of fence, barricade or something.
I don't
Just
know,
to-
I guess my suggestion would be something like you see on interstate with those concrete
Jersey
barricades, I don't know what you call them, I'm just thinking, that if you start driving posts along there,
Yeah,
there's
that's
just
not,
gonna
yeah.
be more start falling off
But
as
we
you try to
also, I
drive a post
think,
or
we need a
something.
sign at the beginning of the road that just says do not enter. I mean, they know they live there, but other people do not need to be driving down there for no reason.
Right.
Yeah.
Road damage ahead or something.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Even
And when
technically
we
it's a
have
dead
guests,
end.
we let them know
Technically
exactly when
it's a
they
dead
come.
end.
where
Yeah.
it's
Just
at.
needs to be a road
Maybe
close.
that's
That's
good
the
way
ultimate
to
sign.
address
Yes,
that.
please,
Just put dead end,
right at that
Just
intersection.
so nobody gets hurt.
yeah.
Right, you don't want anyone down there that
No.
doesn't know the
Yeah.
road or doesn't, right.
You don't have no fencing type of barricade that off where that cliff is.
We could throw one section of type 3 up there and the homeowners can drive around.
They can still drive around in the ditch,
Yeah.
as long as they can get by.
We
Yes,
don't
but it
mind
needs to
driving.
be
Other
visually
people
closed.
don't know that though.
Right,
No.
Yeah.
Scares
right,
me.
and,
Right.
yeah.
Two, 3 weeks ago, I looked down the intersection, there was 8 vehicles parked down there, people walking in there. looking.
Yeah.
There
I
was
mean,
8 vehicles I counted in there,
Mhm.
so they come and go constantly.
Mhm.
We need a landline sign.
The first one already went off,
we
look.
just don't.
There's two sides to that story though, you know, if we do put up the road closed barricade, granted it falls on whether or not it's public road or private road, which we haven't determined that, but even if it's determined public road, even though you have a residence back there and we sign it road closed and you choose to drive around a barrier and have an accident, that could fall on you guys, is all I'm saying. You know, there could be a catch-22 there that I'm unaware of, but by
Are you
state statutes,
saying-
it's illegal to drive around a road closed barricade.
Well, you don't need to
That's
put,
true.
can't you put like they do with the accident scene, put something like that in red tape?
Red tape,
Construction
police
signs.
We might be able to come up with some yellow tape.
Yeah.
Yeah, comment.
That's better than what we have
Yeah,
now.
with like fence post or something, just so they can see that there.
Yeah.
You could easily,
You know,
like you say, fence it so that it's a one-lane operation for the people that live down there and say residents only.
Good.
And
Road.
there are some things like that you could do that would make it very clear, you're not supposed to go down this little one-lane line, except people that live there, it's for residents only.
Yeah,
And it would
I'd
help
see if
stop
it
a lot of
has
that,
one.
but when you just try to block it, if there's, people out there looking on weekends for houses for sale, and they're gonna go down there if you don't have a sign that says residents only.
Or something like
Is
that.
there gonna be a decision on, is this gonna be county road or is this gonna be private road as far as us working on private property to install this fence? And
Well,
all
the road, I
that, you
assume
know,
that, road is public, they.
not by state statute in my opinion.
Okay,
Well,
So,
1990
however, we have an internal agreement where we agreed to incorporate 2.35 miles. So
You know, and
If-
that's
unless
that's
this-
your decision, that's not my
I will
decision, but I
explain
don't
this to you,
have
but
firm
unless,
direction.
I'll explain this to you, unless this state statute prohibits us from making that sort of internal agreement, the local home rule has authority, unless the state statute makes an exception where we are not permitted to do so. We're allowed to do anything within our purview above and beyond, this would establish the scope to which we may do something like that.
Man, only thing,
No, that is correct. No, that's correct. If this statute says you may not incorporate a particular road into your road system due to these circumstances, then we cannot do that. If it just says if a road exists and doesn't meet these qualifications, then you don't have to take on its responsibility. That's a differentiating line. So our agreement to enter into the maintenance, which she has if you wanna see this, it's, our agreement to do that is a commitment by the county. The request for revocation clearly indicates that we regretted this decision and then tried to undo it, which was not accepted. So my only concern is, I guess nobody signed this. Is there a signed copy of this?
I'd say, I'd like to look to make sure that was approved, and this wasn't a proposal that was sent.
But this is actually signed by Lincoln County Road Supervisor. So it was the document was
I know
created.
it was just a project, this top, so
That's
let's-
possible.
Let's make sure that.
the only thing I want to say is after being there 30 years, we never asked for nothing, but we're down here, Jay and I and Larry, we paid taxes for 30 years and never asked a penny in 30 years. Now we need help.
Well, yeah, you've even been providing your own road material.
For 30 years, Jay and I both done.
Did you have a comment?
Does anybody know why the county never has taken care of it? Is that before your guys' time there, or, I'm just curious. I'm just curious why and what transpired, and, because, the research I've done's produced very little information, so.
Well, we fixed the road, we never, but like you said, the lifetime is 30 years, it's up. 30 years is up.
There is nobody that can answer that direct question, and there's nothing in writing, so it would be strictly speculation, which at this point is pointless.
I think you just have a lot of good people there that aren't very demanding and just deal with whatever. And, in my case, I don't want a lot of traffic out there. I don't want sightseers and speedsters and things. If
We can
I-
turn it back private, and that'll be all yours.
Yeah.
And I live right next to it, and I do want
We,
a decent road, and I don't care if people drive through there.
No,
And I do want
I
value for my taxes, and I've been paying for 23 years, and,
It's understandable.
so.
Well, I think it's been a good discussion, and the commissioners need to discuss it amongst.
Yeah, maybe we should,
In their meeting.
I
and-
think
I don't know if we wanna make a decision today,
No,
but Alexis and I,
wouldn't think
and
so.
we got another commissioner coming on too. We should probably discuss this. I believe personally, in my opinion though, that there already is, like I was a substitute mail carrier here and I delivered you guys mail here a couple of years ago. So you do have, once there's a mail route or school route going on, you got a road, I consider that a public road.
Yeah.
Now, I know legally and all that, maybe Michael it isn't, but because of that, you guys do pay taxes. And those are, in my opinion, I think it should be considered a public road and we should maintain it. And how to fix the problem with the cave off. I think maybe we should get an engineer, like you said, because we want to do it right. Michael, maybe, I don't know what Alexis thinks about this, but I would have an engineer design this, what we should do right, and then fix it, to the best of our ability, and then maintain the rest of the roads, which are these what you had this latest sheet, is those the latest public roads that were there back in the?
Well,
There's the original platted roads are shown on here as well as the changes that have transpired since
Yeah.
the original plat.
Right.
Give or take, I think all of them have shifted just a little bit from original design,
Now,
a little bit.
when you guys over the years, you hauled gravel, you said, and rock, and you just did that at your own expense,
You
and
bet.
where did you get your rock and all
We
that?
got it from Kitty.
Oh, Kenny Brandon?
Yeah.
He would have rock and you just paid him. So you guys are kind of maintaining your.
$500 a load.
Yeah,
Have you ever had that road reshaped?
Never.
No.
Kitty did all of the rock. I bought my rock from him for 30 years.
Okay.
The county has worked on
Yeah,
that
they
too.
did.
About 2 years ago,
So we get, do we grade,
shaped
we
rock.
grade
Not
it
down
out?
below, we didn't, back where the
Oh,
road
yeah,
stood.
up on where lot 42
Yes.
is.
But down where this.
They definitely.
Okay, so here, I'm gonna,
We don't grade that road now, do we, where there was at the cliff, where you guys had this cave up, we hadn't graded that or nothing.
No.
but I'd like to address that, I'd like to address that issue, because here we are determining whose responsibility is this, okay? So, in this agreement has 2.35 miles, which I'd kinda like to just clock that out and see how much roadway we're talking
And that's
about,
what-
okay? And here's the issue, how do we determine which ends of the road count and which don't? Because if our highway department is saying we haven't been down that road in 20 years, and the statute says if the owner of any property adjacent to or abutting a township road which has not been, well, I'll just skip it, and the owner desires to have the road maintained, it shall be the duty of the owner to establish a maintainable road bed and drainage in accordance with the standards, yada yada, because the road has not been maintained for at least 20 years, okay? That being said, this is either all one section or it's not. Because we either adopted all of this or none of it, in my opinion. If we're grading the road that leads to this road and just leaving this road off, now that this particular road has a problem, we can't selectively say, unless we know that 2.35 miles is everything except that road. Does anyone see what I'm saying there? I mean, it either is or it isn't. The whole entire, we have been grading in your plan. We've been there. We can't say we haven't been there in 20 years. Because we have chosen to go to the left and not to the right for 20 years is the operator's choice, or has been instructed to do so and not apparently. So I would like to at least verify what the 2.35 miles is. Let's look and see what this,
I'd say the reason why I say I'd like to look is because it says final approval for this project, is subject to the rest with the Board of County Commissioners. So basically, I think he was proposing this.
Yes.
So I don't know if this was actually.
Was ever.
approved.
that's
So let's
fine.
figure that
I'm
out.
for verifying everything. But I would like to point out that she has the correspondence where the county tried to undo what this looks like it did. So that is an interesting aspect to me. You know, because this is provided by the county. The next correspondence was also provided by the county. So I would say it kind of appears that we entered into this, then wanted to change it.
The other thing that I would like to say is if you're talking $50,000 to $70,000, you are going to have to bid that project up. The other aspect of it is if you want good people to bid, you're gonna have to have engineered specs.
That's right.
Because they're going to want to know
What are they doing?
specifically what they're doing and what it's gonna entail, because their company's liability is gonna rest upon it, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, those
I
are
think-
excellent points.
I think we should have an engineer for that issue.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. You wanna do it right, yeah, you don't want the liability of doing it wrong.
So step one is verification of some of the information. We will, the clerk has access to all of our records. We will see what else pertains to this 1992 agreement. We can contact engineers. We do not have to bid out our, those kind of professional services. We can at least see what we're talking about to do a sample and a plan there, and we can move forward.
Do you have to, once you get the engineering report, do you have to abide by that, or can you deviate from the engineering report? In other words, the engineering report comes in and says, okay, we need to do this, and it's gonna come to $250,000. Are you gonna say, well, wait a minute, let's drop back, is there a different engineer, is there an alternative?
I think you could discuss some options with the
Sure.
engineer himself, and then they can develop a new set of
Right,
plans.
I'm sure you could find 5 or 6 ways to
I
do
don't know
different
if you really
culverts that
wanna
you may
do
not
some big
need.
deviation from the plans. You know, there can be some change orders and whatnot along the way, but.
If you put out that request to an engineer and you state it in such a way where their obligation is to provide options to reduce cost, but do it right.
Right,
Then you ask them to provide that to you and you'll get it.
right. Good point. So, I would also appreciate if you would verify the mileage on there as far as what is in Lincoln County.
Where is it gonna start? Figure it out.
I think you've done a fine job. I like your proposals, and first and foremost, well, the legality, but is for these party 3 or 4 homes, so they can gain access safely. That's first, and then we'll deal with the rest later.
Yeah, we need to fix this problem first and then
Right.
maybe figure out how to maintain the rest
Absolutely.
later or whatever
Yeah.
we're gonna do there.
We can talk, because, you know,
And also to
Not to
make
go
it safe for the
backwards.
4th of July weekend,
Oh,
have to
yeah,
have
it's
for
a
visitors
lot of
just
people
coming
that
by,
be
so
out there.
You guys
Yeah,
approve us to
safety.
go do some sort of temporary.
something.
I think
We'll
we
see
need,
what we can
Yeah.
do if you guys
Yes.
approve us.
I
to
do, I
that.
approve.
Yes.
We gotta put up some temporary boundary there so they can yellow tape, and then maybe put a sign up front that says, I would even maybe say road closed except for, residents or something.
Local
Yeah.
traffic only.
Local traffic
I don't know if I
only.
have that sign.
You see those along the way.
Or if you don't, just say, dangerous road ahead or something, just so, I don't know, what's appropriate.
are you saying if we take that action, then we're taking action on the road and we're binding ourselves to it? If we take action, we're assuming the responsibility, is what you're saying.
People know about that road and they're wanting to come down and see, you know what I mean? So it's 4th of July with all those people, when they hear about it and they know, they wanna go and look at that.
We need to put up some,
Especially at night,
yeah, night.
Ooh, it's
That-
bad.
Who owns the property on the downhill side of that? If you're on the uphill road,
Como does.
Well,
Como
it'd
does.
be, Dr. Rick Rajewski owns a portion of it, and then,
That's
Chuck Como,
Yeah,
Chuck Como.
he owns the other.
Where it's caving down, they
Right,
own that
that's
land.
right in the middle of it, is Rajewski's on one side.
We may have to get on their property to fix that, so we'd have to get permission probably for them to do that.
have you spoken to the county attorney?
These are in city.
their property might be on both sides of that road.
Well-
Como's property.
If we have to
It's on
fix,
both
maybe we have
sides
to get
of
on
that
private property to fix
On
that
the
road.
side and the other side.
He's on the high
We
side.
wanna make sure we get permission.
Well,
Well, yeah.
Oh, for a portion of it, you mean?
That'll come into play when it comes to
With the engineer,
you know,
the
you're
fencing.
gonna have to do temporary easements, permanent easements, all kinds of stuff. You know, and it's gonna be a big.
Okay, so this is Rajewski here, this is Como here.
So it's almost on the property.
So see, there,
Hey, where them, we would.
This is the washout.
okay, the gentleman here said he's on the top side, he's right here.
No, he's right here.
Oh, he's
He's
right
right here. Cause he touches
Oh, I'm
the
sorry.
road.
Yeah,
He touches the road,
he's right
number
there.
34.
Yeah.
And so it probably passes, you're right, it probably passes the property line, so it's 2 property lines. Two property owners.
And even Tyler might be on both sides, that's where some of the changes are made.
In years prior. Thank you.
Yeah.
Dr. Rajewski's the one that came up with the culvert idea, so he's kinda inviting something to be done.
Right.
It's Mr.
I mean,
Como.
obviously the work's gonna be on someone's property there on the
Right.
south, or on the west
Some of
side.
it's gone, so.
I believe that you'll find.
just-
No,
pretty
his
agreement among
road,
the group
he
to
touches
do
the
that.
road.
Yeah, it's a little bit of that ditch is on my property, but that's right of way.
Yeah.
That's road right of way, I mean,
Easement.
it's part of my property, that's right, but it's easement, you know, I don't have the right to build on it, I don't have a right on it.
So the concern is if we take action there, we're binding ourselves to the road right away.
We would open ourselves up to more liability problems.
More than if somebody drives off there.
and
I don't
kill
know.
themselves.
We could say if somebody drives off it now, we could say it hasn't been maintained in 20 years and it's not our issue.
Right.
No, I don't know, I don't know if that holds up,
Or if nobody's
I
traveling.
don't know if that holds up in court, I don't know if that holds up in court.
We're both gonna have a hell of a mess if
Yeah.
that happens. I'd rather avoid it.
Well, I appreciate.
From the same
thank you for setting
standpoint,
up
if
the
we-
meeting and having a discussion. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Well, we'd like to help you, it's just how to go about doing it's the issue.
So my question is, if a group of us say, you know, we need something to barrier that, and we go do that, down and do that, are
Maybe
we
you
then gonna
could.
say, well, they're doing it on their own, we have no public liability, cause I don't wanna take that step either.
Yeah.
Is that another case where you say, well, you guys are doing it on your own, you're on your own? We don't wanna do that, we sure don't want anybody driving off,
Oh, my goodness.
so.
It's gonna come down to a court decision in Topeka. It's gonna be Attorney General opinion.
There already is one.
There is.
There is an Attorney General opinion that says it's on the
Yeah,
county.
what is the number of
Right
that,
here.
Attorney General? Yeah, I would like to, I'm sorry, I didn't ask for
You
that
gotta
earlier.
go back 30 years.
You already have it.
Okay, Attorney General opinion 91-163, December 23rd, 1991. A road may be a public road if it has been established and opened pursuant to 68-102, or if it is declared to be a public road or highway by the Board of County Commissioners. As Lincoln County Attorney, oh, this is particular to this road from Lincoln County?
Yes,
That is the attorney
Oh.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Lincoln County
So-
Attorney
We should have
requested this,
started
correct?
here. I thought this was an attorney general opinion just pursuant to the, or
No, this is
pertaining to
specific
the issue.
this issue.
No.
Oh
You
my.
got everything.
I'm sorry, I should laugh a little harder. Okay, dear Miss Marshall, we could call her up. As Lincoln County Attorney, you request our opinion as to whether the roads located in Wilson Lake Estates are the responsibility of Lincoln County, and if so, what is the extent of the county's responsibility and liability? You also ask whether these roads can be declared minimum maintenance roads. As way of background, in 1977, the Lincoln County Commissioners approved a plat for Wilson Lake Estates. The Wilson Lake Estates resort area was just beginning to develop. Now you inform us there were approximately 30 to 50 homes. Pursuant to 68-102, once there is a recordation of the reviewer's report, survey, and plat, a county road has been established. Attorney General Opinion Number 91-140, since these items were recorded and we believe the roads were established, furthermore, there is no information that we are aware of that would lead us to believe that the roads are not open. As a matter of law, a road may be considered open when the way is unobstructed, when it is traveled, however minimally, when it is available for public use. Attorney General Opinion 91-140. Since these roads are unobstructed, are able to be traveled on, and are used by the public, we deem them to be open. If the roads were not established correctly, the roads may be public pursuant to 68-124, which says, where any road or highway that is not a county road has been declared to be a public road or highway, it shall be the duty of the Board of Highway Commissioners of the township in which such road is located to repair, place, and keep in condition for travel such roads or highway. If such Board of Highway Commissioners shall neglect, refuse, or fail to comply with the provisions of this act, the Board of County Commissioners of the county may repair and put in good condition for travel such road or highway, and shall charge the expense therefore to the township in which the road is located. But we are a county road system, not a township system. The plat of Wilson Lake Estates, which was approved by the Lincoln County Commissioners, stated that the roads and easements shown on this plat are not heretofore dedicated for public and private use, are hereby dedicated for... I have to start that again. The plat of Wilson Lake Estates, which was approved by the Lincoln County Commissioners, stated that roads and easements shown on this plat, and not heretofore dedicated for public and private use, are hereby dedicated for public and private use, and may be employed for the purpose of installing, repairing, and maintaining all public and private utilities now or hereafter. Black's Law Dictionary defines the word declare as to make known, manifest, or to clear, to signify, to show in any manner, either by words or acts, to publish, to utter, to announce clearly some opinion or resolution, to solemnly assert a fact before witnesses. It is our opinion that when the plat of Wilson Lake Estates was accepted by the Lincoln County Commissioners and was filed, this was sufficient to consider this road declared to be a public road as set in 68-124. The second part of your question involves the issue of what is the extent of Lincoln County's responsibility and liability in regard to maintaining these roads. You have informed us that Lincoln County has adopted the unit system. Upon adoption of this system, all townships within the county are to relinquish to the Board of Commissioners all money and equipment accumulated for them for road constructions and maintenance purposes. And thereafter, townships within counties adopting the county road system will have no further authority to construct, maintain, even those within the boundaries of the township. So therefore, Lincoln County would be responsible for the maintenance of these roads. However, KSA 1990, supposition 68572 states that the Board of County Commissioners of any county, of any township, of highway commissioners of the county or city governing body within such county are hereby authorized to enter into agreements for the construction or maintenance of any roads or streets. So that would be the potential agreement that we'll have to see that was sent by the highway department. Furthermore, KSA 68728 provides a procedure for owners of the land that is platted, which lies outside the limits of an incorporated city, to petition the Board of County Commissioners to provide for the construction or reconstruction of the curbing, guttering, paving, macadamizing, or grading, including drainage of any public road outside the limits of any incorporated city wherever it shall deem the same necessity. And then the last part is about declaring the minimum maintenance. And in conclusion, it is this office's opinion that the roads around the Wilson Lake Estates are public roads and Lincoln County is responsible for the maintenance of these roads.
That is an attorney general's opinion. Until the court rules on it, it's not legal.
Well, I would not advise acting against an attorney general opinion, especially when it's specific to this exact issue. I didn't realize that.
That ain't the way the court rules work.
Well, anyone can take anyone to court over
Right,
a
I
civil
know.
matter for anything
That's
at
the
any
problem.
time and drag it out for 20 years. I'm not
Yeah.
interested in that. I want to rectify the situation, and I feel that you're the representative of the people here. Not necessarily, I mean, I don't want to make a poor decision financially for the county, but I'm the representative of the people who pay the taxes, who want the services that they're requesting.
I think also moving forwards with it, that the true plat of those roads needs readdressed. And if the county is gonna continue to maintain those, that we actually have accurate record of what they are and where they are versus what is private, what's not private, what's been gated, what has been maintained, isn't maintained, where there's now buildings sitting on top of the original plat, and all that stuff needs cleaned up and reorganized and done properly.
Were any of the roads located on this Lincoln County side created after the 1977
Oh,
original?
Yes.
Which one?
So that's what I would wanna know.
That Ridge Road loop up there, all the way up to the north end, that has totally been redone, and I kinda got it drawn
This
out.
dark part that you highlighted,
Yes.
that was after the 1977.
The changes are in yellow on this,
Yeah.
and the original.
Okay, but that doesn't include the portion that we're talking about.
No, that does not. I don't believe so.
Ridge Road Blues.
I mean, I would argue on your behalf that if you have the Attorney General opinion and this agreement was in fact signed or agreed upon by the commission and your homeowners association, the fact that for 20 years the county neglected that road doesn't necessarily exempt them by just saying, well, we haven't done it in 20 years, unless there was a request to not do it, and then they did not do it for 20 years. I mean, that's kind of an interesting, that's an interesting concept.
Why are there private road signs installed? I'm curious. Those are not
Well,
county signs.
we don't know.
We don't know anything about it.
Somebody put them up there because they couldn't get out.
They should put a
They had
dead
trouble
end
doing
road
Yeah.
sign
Yeah.
up, not,
Yeah. And
I don't know who put
but we
them.
don't know.
There's a private sign on that road?
Yes, and
I
there's
didn't
one
notice
also
that when I
going
was up
back to the west down the hill past Red Jeske's and Pike.
But we've been blading that.
Yes, that's.
Used to, but I guess the operators requested to stop blading. So.
Cause
and
that's
I-
always been there since I've known this, but I think it's
Who-
because it's private property, dead end, and they have to turn around.
To the end, yeah, to the other
Deal
side.
to get back
Well,
out.
both sides, right? I mean, that's, both
Well,
sides.
that's where the road is in that ditch now, so that sign is no longer there.
Okay.
That's where they're driving, so they had to,
So there wasn't a sign that I didn't see. I was just out there.
that's right.
Okay,
And
okay.
it's taken down so people could get in there.
Good,
Somebody
then I'm not
knocked it down.
blind.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think-
People went in there,
Okay.
and no one
Basically,
Okay.
cared.
You couldn't,
Anybody can
you
put a
couldn't
sign
see it,
up.
we
If
had
that
grass
doesn't
and weeds
overcome
there,
an
you
attorney
couldn't see
general's
it.
Well,
I-
yeah.
I can't.
I guess
ever
my
re-
question
I
is,
can't
why have we been
remember.
coming down that hill and blading to one side and not blading the other? Was that purposeful? I mean, I know you weren't here. That's not toward you. I'm just saying, so for 20 years,
We
we've
don't
been
know.
going one way and not the other at the intersection,
At
is
least
all I
30
can figure
At least
out.
30 is what you're saying, correct?
Yeah.
20,
But
30,
the statute applies to the 20-year discrepancy on what you're allowed to deny.
Do you know who put those signs
I
up?
think it was the people that you bought from.
Because I would say the signs are always,
The guy
we haven't
was-
been there as
The
long.
guy was a drug dealer and he went
Oh.
to jail in Slina.
No, that is true.
It's true. His wife
Is
was
this the guy
a
that told me
beauty.
to leave the property, maybe?
He's
Well,
a
Potential,
guy-
that would make
They're
sense.
probably cooking meth
That
out
would-
back.
He
So-
started a
That's
fire.
exactly.
He went to jail and his wife was a beauty operator in Slina and he was convicted for selling drugs.
Okay.
And he started a
Let's
fire.
move on to the
Yeah,
road.
yeah.
That's been a long time ago.
Yeah, well, anyway, none of us have been around.
Didn't affect that.
And it's gone now,
What's that?
because I didn't see it.
No.
Okay.
I think what we should do is probably review. the
Yes,
orders.
we.
I don't think we wanna
Who
make
should we
any,
contact? Let's start there. Would you like us, are you the
Sure.
president?
Yeah,
Alan, what is your last name?
spell it for you.
Yes, please.
yeah, maybe,
FABRIZIUS.
Fabrizius.
You Leon, maybe?
I don't know.
Did you know Leon? He
I did one of them.
he did it at the sale barn.
From
Sale
Sylvan?
barn lot.
We're from Ellsworth, there's some free Breezius too, aren't there,
Yeah,
Ellsworth?
it's right
I
there.
don't know.
You're Alan?
Right.
Okay, what's your number?
623-3584.
3584? Okay. I think we'll discuss this more. Obviously we'll wanna,
But what do you wanna do about immediate action on
immediate action on this.
Can we
Well, we
put
should-
our signs on the road intersection?
Well, we're worried about liability if we do. I think we're already liability issue.
It is definitely,
If there was a
well, that's like he
lawsuit-
said, you can.
If there's somebody drives off that and gets killed, we're gonna get sued anyway.
Both are knee deep in or neck deep in
Right,
it.
right. I mean,
Everyone
we-
in this room.
Now,
Right.
so I think we should put some yellow tape or some up there with, and also at the top put something, I don't know, road closed except for residents, you want something like that?
All I can provide is road closed. I don't
But can
have
we do-
residents on.
In,
I
in
don't
the
have
protect, for the protection of the county, can we do that on the road that we're already maintaining?
Should be able to, because we should have
Do you see what I'm saying?
50 feet from, 25 feet from center line there, so.
As opposed to
Oh, yeah.
doing it on site at the edge of the
As
cliff.
far as-
Can we do that on the road that we're already maintaining, that we've already, and
Yeah.
make that clear to any passersby that they should not be down there and they had forewarning in case of an accident?
The road
And then
signs-
you who live there, you're already aware.
Yeah, they know.
It's not gonna help you to put anything
There's
there.
only three of us down.
Right.
Off or fence
So-
that.
And I would, yeah, do
Does
some type
everyone
of fence
understand?
thing with yellow tape or something there.
Yeah.
Like,
Basically on the-
If you put a sign that says road closed,
oh, you just want to put a road
is the
closed
sheriff
sign,
gonna
that's all?
give those people tickets for driving down in there?
Hopefully.
He would. We
You know,
would
cause so
share.
then those residents can't drive down there, it says road closed. And if these three try to drive down there, the sheriff's gonna give them a ticket. will they
Or a
not?
company over the phone.
And the judge will dismiss that.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
That's,
we're getting a
We're
little.
getting a little.
petty.
I don't think
We're
we're,
getting off.
Can we not just be in communication with the sheriff's department and tell them
Yeah.
that we're only signing on the road that we maintain, we're not gonna sign on the road that we have not made a decision about? So, I mean, I'm not sure, how can we landlock you from your property?
You can.
I think if they're reasonable people, they would
I think
understand.
everybody's
Yeah,
reasonable.
they know we've been there, you know.
but I would put some sign up there, don't you think?
For
Yes,
safety,
yes.
I mean.
Yeah.
I'm just proposing that we do it on the road that's already
You don't have
coming
any
off the
other type
hill,
of signs that
as
say,
opposed to right at the edge of the
dangerous
cliff.
Well,
road
the
or
only
something?
reason I said something
Caution.
about this
Caution.
too is there is
Dangerous
a
road.
young
Road
boy
closed will cover.
who
Okay.
is
That means they're
learning
not supposed to go
how
beyond
to
that.
Well,
drive. And
but
they
they-
use that
legally,
road
they
to go
will,
up and
but
down, and I'm thinking,
they're
oh my
residents.
God.
That's not smart.
That's
Right.
not smart.
Right.
And so,
But that doesn't mean that we won't end up in a lawsuit. As Mr. Mantle pointed out earlier, you can take someone to court
And
for
I've
anything.
seen
We would
4
definitely be
wheelers
on
and
that
different
list.
things go clear down the
Oh,
middle of that
sure.
road instead of going in that
Yeah, I
ditch
mean,
bar.
do we talk about spending up to $100,000 now, or do we spend it in court? That just doesn't make, we're spending it,
I mean.
Okay.
right, right.
Thank you for your time.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Communication.
Thank you.
Look forward to moving forward.
Thank
Nice
you.
to meet you. Yeah.
I'm so glad we got this meeting.
Yeah.
That's
Thank
when
you.
go down,
Yes.
we don't drive.
You're Alexis.
I don't know where it's at, I'm not gonna do
It's fine. I'm Randy Holman.
Randy.
Yeah, glad to meet you. Glad to
Nice to
meet
meet
you,
you.
Alan.
Appreciate
Nothing we said was unreasonable either.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Much as I can.
Thanks for coming.
You bet.
Address is, our homeowners association does not have an app.
This is my first term. Yeah.
Great program, great program. Watching that, I want to compliment you on how you conduct the meetings.
Thank you.
Courteously, but to control.
I appreciate that.
You keep it up, please.
Thank you.
Keep, then, here's your back.
Yeah.
Thank you both for your extra time.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
We going back over the other room?
Sure.
I see this all the time, so they're fighting over that.
I know, but if it is a liability issue either way, we're smarter to spend the money up front than to raise our insurance rates that we won't get back down.
Where are you gonna get the money?
Yes.
Well, I mean,
Bond it?
the, no, oh, no, no, no. We don't need to bond
I'm
for
just
that.
saying,
No.
well, now you're
That's the lake address.
I'm going to, Dawn, I'm gonna recess and reconvene in the other commission room.
So is this your normal meeting room here, or?
Well, they used to meet upstairs on the first floor, just with one table, but there were only about 3 chairs. And so we ended up moving down here last year because we were able to have this, but we kind of have an issue with like having an official jury room. So we've been doing some reorganizing of the rooms in the courthouse, and we ended up deciding we're gonna move over there, which you can see it's kind of a nicer setup for a bigger group. And then this room then will be available for anything that is happening at random. But yes, we've been using this room for about a year.
Okay. Of course, I'm gonna ask for like a 10-minute.
Sure. When Dawn's ready.
Sure.
Are you guys?
Did you have an agenda with what you want?
No. I'm just gonna open it up for public now.
Lawyers.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay, thank you.
And that's what,
You sit down on these?
You done? Or you want it off?
well, one of
Well,
them, they're going an hour.
We don't have much more, so
No,
yeah.
it's cool, it's freezing here.
Yeah, okay. I'll now reconvene the meeting and open it up for the public, since we have finished the items on the agenda.
We have?
I think we did.
Thought we had some.
The open board appointments, we've already decided what we're going to do. We're gonna call.
Oh, that's
Open
right.
board
You're right, you're
Uh-huh.
right, okay.
Okay,
Well, I was wanting to, well.
can we take him first?
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah,
he had a
yeah,
question
go
or
ahead.
Well, I need like a 10-minute executive session about personnel issue. Just something I need to visit probably a little bit about. I think we need to do an executive session.
Oh, yeah, if it's regarding personnel. Okay. Can you tell me the department?
Well, it would be your Lincoln Manor, or
Oh,
Lincoln Park Manor.
okay, so those those are not our employees.
So that is not an employee.
Correct.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
well, the county just.
So let me explain the
go ahead.
relationship. The county owns the building, and we signed a lease with a company who runs a nursing home, and that nursing home name is Lincoln Park Manor. So we own the building that doesn't have a name, it's just the county building. But then Lincoln Park Manor is the business, and it was owned by a Kristen Robinson 2 years ago and purchased in the middle of 2017 by a Mr. John Grace.
Okay, well, so then I'll just ask my questions. I guess it could be an open meeting then.
Mhm.
So I'm from Sherman County, and we are in the process of possibly contracting with Mr. John Gray. So I want to know how that's going with you guys and Mr. Gray as far as the relationships there, before we get into something that we may not desire.
So what I can tell you is the commission a few months ago published a newsletter where we explained some of the issues that we have had in lesser detail because it was supposed to be a public update. But currently, the commission stands to collect rent in arrears for more than 12 months
Okay?
from that tenant. We have also been propositioned after the purchase of the business from Kristen Robinson to John Grace. It remained Lincoln Park Manor. So after that purchase happened, Mr. Grace began having meetings with some local people who were interested in the development of the nursing home and the future of the nursing home. So what they did was they got together as a self-formed group and started to create a nonprofit.
Okay.
But Mr. Grace was involved in that creation of that nonprofit. And then the nonprofit brought a proposal to the commission, which you can probably watch on Lincoln. I have Lincoln County videos. And so we were upstairs. I would say that was, I can't remember what month that was. 2018. May, I'm going to say somewhere in March or May. And so we were propositioned by this self-formed nonprofit group to give them money out of our web fund, which is our pilot money that we had to pay in lieu of taxes, payment in lieu of taxes.
Okay.
So that they could buy Lincoln Park Manor from Mr. Grace and then turn around and utilize him continuing on as the licensed administrator and management company.
Okay, it sounds just exactly like where we're headed, so I'm curious.
Okay, so at that point, the commission looked at the proposition and we decided that we were not in favor of taking the reserve money of our tax from the money that we have in that particular account that they were asking for is from the wind towers that came in. So we decided we were not in favor of taking that money out and handing it to a nonprofit group for them to purchase a business.
Right.
It was well over, it was close to $500,000 that we were being asked to dole out for that transaction. And then it's my understanding that they were going to commit to hiring Mr. Grace's management company, Grace Team, I believe.
Yes.
For what every other management company also charges, which they charge basically 5% of the gross. So whatever revenue is generated by however many clients or residents you have at whatever rate, then they were asking for 5% of the gross revenue, which does not necessarily cap any of the expenditures. So the county was also concerned about what that deficit may end up being. Just because you collect 5% of the gross revenue doesn't mean you're collecting 5% of the gross profits.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So then we were informed, we ended up hiring an attorney out of Topeka, and we were informed that the county cannot necessarily just purchase a business in that way, whether it be directly or you can't directly purchase a business, and you can't even necessarily roundabout purchase a business. So we really felt that plan didn't make sense for us. It was not only going to cost us money up front, we had no idea what the projected continual cost was going to be, if there was a deficit created by the management and the income and the expenses.
And the only guarantee was to Mr. Grace, not to the county. Mr. Grace was going to make money on it, but there was no guarantee that the nursing home would still function in 10 years.
In fact, they were asking for dismissal of the rent altogether because they were going to be a nonprofit operating facility. They actually, at one point, they even asked to take over the facility, for it to be gifted to them, which you cannot do over a certain dollar amount without a public approval. Or maybe it works that the public can petition against it if you are going to move to do that. So there were quite a few catch-22s with that proposal that we decided to reject. Now in the meantime, we're still in a 3-year lease that was signed in 2017, so it's not over until next May. And we're rent in arrears for more than 12 months.
So how's that contract still in place if he's that far behind in rent?
Because the county has not taken action to pursue an eviction. And the issue is that we've been hesitant because of the licensing. So many other counties, which maybe yours does or does not, but many other counties have their name on the license because you can have up to a 3-party ownership on the license, the facility license. You have an administrative license and you have a facility license. Now our facility was built in 1962, so the assumption is if we were to apply for a brand new license, we would not qualify because the corridors aren't wide enough. There's not an individual bathroom in each resident's personal room. There are some other things that have changed in the law since 1962 that if you were to build a new nursing home, you couldn't do it the way that one exists as
Right.
is, so you call it grandfathered in,
Right.
We are grandfathered in under the current license. but we may not be able to get a brand new license. Of course, that's at the discretion of the Secretary of KDES.
Yeah, we're working on that now. That's what we're kind of dealing with right now. Trying to see if we can get a new license, like Alexis said, or have to deal with Mr. Grace on getting the existing license, which would have us grandfathered in. And then we would have to possibly remodel the nursing homes. That's one of the concerns here. So that's where we're at here with.
So the county had the license and then he.
No,
We have
we've
never
never
had
had
the
it.
license.
We
When the
just own the
county built the
facility.
nursing home, they allowed someone to come in and rent it with their own license.
Okay.
We never secured the license or became a party to the license.
It used to be Good Samaritan in that way back in the 60s and 70s. And they always had a license. The county just owns the building. And we pay for
Repairs.
fix the repairs and
Right,
maintenance.
that's where we're at today. Good stand.
But because we don't have the license, we're kind of, it's good to have the license because then
So-
you have control over it. We don't have control now. That's an issue.
Okay.
So the way the word license changeover works, it's called CHOW paperwork, CHOW, it's change of ownership. And at any given time, a business owner can sign over the license to another business owner or any other entity that's qualified to handle that. However, we were advised by the attorney that we hired that we would not be able to receive the license in our name unless we had already identified the operator who would be running the nursing home, because obviously the commissioners are not going to run the nursing
Right,
home.
right.
But if we wanted to be party on the license, we would just have to have a management firm who says, yes, I'm willing to run this operation. And then the license actually, upon the transfer, would go into our name and we would add that management company. Because that management company could be removed at any point in time.
Or an administrator or a management company. That way then we have control always over that nursing home, see?
Okay. So what you're saying right now is the relationship with Mr. Grace is not a favorable situation.
Not in my opinion. And in addition to that, I would say that he had sent, this was 6 months ago or better, he had sent some email correspondence to our economic development director, and it came to the commission, and basically what it said is he was requesting 3 months working capital to get into the future, or he was going to have to close the doors. So, and that was a year ago, I'm sorry, it wasn't 6 months ago, because
Yeah,
for the last
I wasn't
year,
here
yeah,
for
you weren't
that.
here. So
I'm
for the
just new, I
last
just came
year,
in this
we
year.
have had near panic in our community,
Yeah.
thinking that the doors of the nursing home are closing, and that was never said from the commission. That came from a correspondence from Mr. Grace when he was also requesting money. Now, we have a line item in our general fund that is dedicated to go to the nursing home. And we're supposed to be collecting rent, we recycle the property tax because we pay it ourselves,
Right.
and then we pay the insurance on the building and any physical repairs. So we have dedicated about $120,000 a year to that line item to make sure that that facility has been at least minimally taken care of. And when the transition happened to Mr. Grace owning it, we spent $500,000 on a renovation up there to do some of the major things that needed done, like floors and HVAC and things like electrical, I think was one of the big portions. So the insinuation that the doors would be closed if there was not capital provided by the county to the operator was very detrimental to the business itself. Just recently, they closed the assisted living. There are 9 available slots, and they had 5 consistently for quite a while. And I haven't seen any advertising, but instead of promoting the assisted living, they decided to close it so that they could cut that staff member. So now we're down to just skilled care, but our lease specifically says that we may not interfere in how the business is conducted there. But it also says that we are to be receiving rent according to the census. It's a sliding scale from the bottom to the top. You know, this is for 27 and up residents to 30 residents to above 32 residents, and we have $3,000, $3,500, $4,000 rent. So that's all been missing for well over 12 months. And most recent discussions with him primarily focused on whose responsibility is what for the place, because we've received bills for cleaning and things that we feel should be the responsibility of the tenant. So that was part of the discussion, and then there was an executive session where the tenant was revealing monetary numbers about the financial operation and subsequently what was the expectation of the county to move forward. And I will just say that, or without revealing any specific numbers, I don't think that we're dealing with anything different than what we were proposed by the nonprofit board that came before us. And so I will pose the question to him again, and I have done in the past. Why is it that if you cannot financially create a sustainable situation out there, that you wouldn't just sign the chow paperwork to the county? That doesn't require a penny. You can transfer that license. You know, if the business is not viable, you can transfer the license to the county, and we can move on from there with a new management firm. But the license is the holdup, because if we had our own license, the eviction would not be
So when he
a
took this,
discrepancy.
when he took it over, he take over, he has to have 3 months operating expense. President of the state will not let him take it over. So who provided that cash? Did the county provide that, or he?
We were not privy to that information, because the only thing we did was physically verify that there was a contract that existed, that his purchase of the business, Lincoln Park Manor, from the prior owner was hinging upon the acceptance of a lease with the county, with him as the new leasee. So his financial operation of that facility has never been part of our responsibility or within our knowledge, except for what he has presented to us in executive session to determine the stability or instability of the business. The only thing that was presented to the public was a financial presentation by the nonprofit, which included debt amounts that are payments in arrears to certain vendors who provide services to that facility and business.
His deal is with Kristen Robinson, right?
Yeah,
She
that was a
had
direct purchase.
She was the original manager, owner of the business, and he just bought it from her. And she owned part of the stock for a while, didn't she?
In fact, I should tell you this part of it. When we found out that Kristen Robinson was having financial difficulties, or it was stated by Kristen Robinson that there were financial difficulties associated with some different things, like a fine, that CMS often imposes, I did some asking around, and I went directly to the KDAD's department in Topeka and started asking who advises, who gives information on how to sort these things out. We don't have access to the financial information, but we are in fear for the longevity of our nursing home facility, and we currently have a lease, and our lease was coming to an end. So I started asking some questions, and KDAD pointed me in the direction of John Grace. One of the secretaries there actually said, "Oh, there's a consulting firm that handles questions just like this." And I called him and I met with him, and he said, "Oh, there are many other options to running a traditional nursing home. You can do this greenhouse project." And he kind of went off on a tangent about that. He even came to the commission and gave a proposal on how that plays out in a community, a greenhouse project. Along with his proposal on how that plays out, he requested money from the commission to do a startup on that. We didn't necessarily bite on that idea, but one day he came in with the current owner and they announced that there was going to be a sale of the business. So would we or would we not entertain a lease with him as the new owner, because the lease was coming to an end? So that's how he got into the 3-year lease. And I will say, Mr. Lemon was not on the board. It was myself and 2 other gentlemen, and the lease went through 2-1. I voted against the lease.
All right, well, I appreciate your time.
Is your county being asked to provide the startup capital for the
Yes.
new nonprofit?
Yes,
And where are you, Sherman County?
Sherman County.
What's the city? What city?
Goodland.
Oh, Goodland, way out there.
Yeah, we're way out.
When-
I was told today that there was a big article in the Hutchinson newspaper that they're taking over the Sterlings,
The what?
the Sterling.
A nursing home. Is it a county run? County owned?
I don't know, but the person.
The state is doing a,
No, the John Grace is
I know
taking
he-
over the Sterling.
He runs one in Colby, which is Thomas County, and he runs one in St. Francis, which is Cheyenne.
Cheyenne County, yeah, he told me.
So,
approached Russell and they turned me down.
okay.
and for how long has the one in Colby and Cheyenne?
Cheyenne County just took it over because, I don't know what your dealings were with Good Sam, but we had some unpleasant experiences with them as well as Cheyenne County. Cheyenne County, theirs burned down. They were doing a remodel and some of the foam insulation over lunch, when you spread out foam in, if it's not done right, it'll create a reaction and it burned part of it down.
Wow.
Good Sam's owned it. They got a check for $5 million. They said, go ahead and build a new one. I got the new one partially built. Oh, by the way, we're not paying for any of it, we're just gonna manage it. So then Cheyenne County taxpayers were stuck with paying the bill to build that.
To rebuild one.
And so they decided not to work with Good Sands anymore.
Wait a minute, how did the insurance check not go to the county if the county owned the property?
No, let me rephrase that. Good Sands owned it.
Oh, oh, so it was the only one they had, so the county wanted to make one, so they had to rebuild them from
Right.
scratch.
Right.
So they took their money and did not rebuild.
They took the money and the county
Wow.
didn't get anything.
Right, so anyhow.
Wow, okay.
So I'm just curious when I heard you guys were dealing with John Grace, how that was going, because, I don't wanna get our county into something that is
What was wise
not
of
a
you
good
to
deal.
ask?
Yeah, so. Anyhow,
You didn't mention, but this, the lady that was, the administrator, she's not here now.
Correct,
She's transferred
to Beloit.
to
Boy,
Beloit, and he has another, so that's another
Mhm.
card in the play.
apparently there's a lot of rest homes.
Well,
Smith Center. he
it's
built
my
a greenhouse.
understanding that, this is my understanding, and it's just from what I've heard, so I don't have anything verifiable for you, but it's my understanding that Mr. Grace and his Grace team were operating one facility in Missouri when he approached us. So this would be his second facility ever, which is now at a year and a half, 2 years in, excuse me. And the same year that he purchased the business in our facility, he sold the business in Missouri, and I'm not sure how long he was there.
Okay.
So this has been his sole operation in Kansas since its inception in 2017 until he moved on to whatever you're saying. And he's involved in Smith Center with the project there.
Now, are they building a new one?
Yes, and I think that's one of the greenhouse projects.
Do they not have a greenhouse in Newton, Kansas?
That is, I don't know that that's the brand name, because greenhouse is a brand name, for lack of a better term. It's a particular company, development company. But yes, it's that same concept in Newton.
'Cause he was talking that when he first came to Lincoln.
That's an example of that style. It's a pod style where you have 10 rooms that share a kitchen and a living room, and it's a wonderful concept, but the cost and the potential deficit in expenses versus income for something like that were not thoroughly explored before this whole purchase took over and the new lease started, and it was a rapid process.
A lot of talk and no show.
Yeah.
Well, I had to take Mr. Stiles back to his plane, so I didn't hear the end of the meeting, and what was any decisions made, or?
We're going to be checking with our county attorney, verifying that agreement from 1992, looking at the 3.25 miles and seeing exactly where that may or may not fall.
Okay.
Re-looking at that attorney general opinion. I'd like to.
Temporarily, we're gonna put up a road closed sign out front, so that'd at least be something. The regulars, or the
Residents.
Residents can drive by it, but, and
To make sure that we don't have any people going through there that aren't supposed to be there and don't know.
Yeah, so then we're wanting to, I think, we'll get together, Alexis and I, and probably Jim, when he comes on, to, I told you my opinion. I think you have enough residents out there now where it should be considered public roads, in my opinion, because they have mail boxes and deliver children, I think, so that's, to me, public roads. Now, we have to determine, like Mr. O'Hare said, you have some private roads, you have some public roads, you have some, you got a combination out there.
That's why I'd like to know what the
Yeah.
3.25 miles
Right,
is.
we need to specify what's responsibility of the county if we're gonna make county roads and what isn't,
They said
Oh, you're right, I'm sorry. It's 2.35. Thank you for the correction.
But anyway, that's where we want, I think we'll want to work with them out there. You have a house out there too?
We were fortunate enough to purchase it, and the closing date was the day the road washed out, so.
Oh,
It's on that lane.
Yes,
You're on that
yeah.
lane.
we're far in.
Okay.
yeah.
That's what Jason calls it. You're not gonna believe this, but I don't know if you can get to your house. I'm like, what? Yeah, the road washed out. I'm like, "Oh, really?"
Yeah.
So I'm a new kid on the block here. I didn't know all of the history and what's going on. But
I
anyhow,
guess-
sure,
I
appreciate
guess
your
we
time.
could live in the Rocky Mountains and you'd have that happen every day. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Up in the,
So, well, thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
So,
I just wanted to say, we should concentrate too on doing, well, I think you had a good idea of reorganizing the highway department and have the highway director.
Do you agree with kind of how I
Yeah,
had that set
yeah,
up? Okay,
yeah.
so do we want to create an advertisement? I'll create an advertisement.
Should we officially, you pretty well changed the,
No, I'll bring that
yeah,
in.
why don't, yeah, let's vote on that and to officially change the job description, maybe a
Yeah.
reorganization of the highway department. Or have a director, have a bridge supervisor, then have an ad for, have a director. Don't you think? I do too. I think we need to get going.
Well, and what he discussed today opens up a position for that to kind of go in a more unilateral way instead of this way. We don't need multiple managers at the top, we need more of a.
No, I agree,
Yeah.
what she laid out, I think is good,
Okay.
one person.
I was kind of just waiting to see if you
No, I
had that
think it's
idea,
good.
and I think that's what we need to advertise for, and we can shift some other people around underneath who have their specialties and their particular requirements. I will bring the new, Dawn, did you ever email me the job descriptions that I could manipulate in a PDF?
I thought I did, but I may not.
The-
Let me put that in my notes.
Okay.
I thought I did that day, but
Oh, maybe you did. I don't
I don't
know.
know. Remind me which ones you want.
The public works director and the road and bridge supervisor.
Okay.
Because you printed them out for me that day, but the old ones I have, I can't manipulate the PDF, so I need to be able to.
Which ones of those do you want the 20 ones that was printed in 2018, or are you wanting the older ones?
The new ones are fine because the changes I'm gonna make are gonna be
I may
totally.
have printed them off then.
You did print them for me that day, that same day you brought, or because Lyra went up and got them from Hannah, you printed them from here. But I need them in my email so that I can open and edit and then resave.
Okay.
Alexis, it's been discussed in the past, I asked a question. Are you discussing to move that wind tower money back to the general fund yet, or has it died? Are you gonna do anything? Take it out of that web fund, put it back in the general fund, you'd solve a lot of problems. It's to lower taxes. I mean, I was here, 3 weeks ago, I think? And I asked you to
Yes,
discuss it.
we have not discussed it.
No,
Okay.
I don't know what to, I kinda like some of it in a web fund, but maybe not all of it. Right now, currently, all of it. Because we do have, I know you were just wanting to go back in the general fund and just spend it in the general fund every year?
Every other county got it all in the general fund.
But I've listened,
I've looked up.
I've heard some people in Ellsworth County done that, and some of the people saying they'd almost like to wish they'd done it like we do now, because then we have, a sizable amount of money if we need some for a major project. Which now I know maybe some people don't like that, because then everybody's asking for it,
Yeah.
for their pet project. Well, you got $5 million in the bank, we wanna use some for our project. I know that can happen, but
Well, I will say where I'd like to see some be used, if it's not 100% put in the general fund, is I think our infrastructure has shown a considerable amount of failure and lack of upkeep over the last 30 years. So in order to undo everything that needs, or I should say to do everything that needs to be fixed from being undone over the years, it's going to take quite a bit of work. I mean, we need a master plan developed for our road system and to address all the major bridges. And I'm not saying we can afford it all at once, but if that money is to sit there and be utilized for something, we can have a 5-year plan where we're rolling that money into the infrastructure of the highway department. Because we're looking at a $2.4 million budget again this year to deal with the same issues we've been dealing with for 5 to 10 years. So, and even I've been asking since I got on the commission to re-evaluate and fix a lot of these stone arch bridges and culverts. And then we have to be an arch. Even all the stone structures, with the proper maintenance and repair, you can get another 100 years out of them. Why would we want to just let them fall apart so then we have to dig them out and rebuild with steel or concrete?
well, what would you like to change the current web fund the way it is? Let some money go in the general fund, some in the web fund, or anything?
Well, that's a difficult decision because if we decided that,
Yeah.
let's just say, let's say I have a year next year. So I make that decision, all of that money would have to be dealt with. Because if I make a decision that trickles it in over the next several years, that decision can be undone by the next board. So it's kind of like an all or nothing, you see what I'm saying? If I voted in favor to subsidize the general fund for 10 years out by a portion of the web fund, that would lower everyone's taxes for 10 years. Of course, the plan and the follow through would have to be you minimize the spending to not create the deficit in 5 years from where the subsidy quits. You can't just continue to spend up to the brim, while then, when the web fund money runs out, then you have to increase the taxes to make up the difference in the expense column. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, some people would say that, like last year, we gave, 1.4 million to our schools because we had web fund money. I don't know if we could have did that on any other way, unless you would just raise taxes a lot to do that.
Well, I was questioned about that quite a bit because a lot of people thought maybe it shouldn't have gone to the schools. My justification for it is, number one, the schools are the largest employer here. I mean, I think we would lose a lot of our economic stability without our schools.
And our web fund money now, a certain percentage of it's earmarked for.
That's in addition to what we gave them now.
Oh, okay.
That's in addition, we gave them a chunk.
Okay.
They're getting a percentage now of what's coming in. I
Okay.
didn't have anything to do with that decision, but
Right.
I did vote to give them the.
Last year.
Yes, the
Yeah,
money,
I know.
because if they were going to start budgeting to do the repairs that we ended up paying for, it would have affected everyone's taxes long term. This was, in my opinion, an immediate fix. So they still need to budget to do their maintenance properly, but the increased taxes that would have been felt for a longer period of time were negated by the fact that we spent the cash in the bank. And it's been sitting there not really providing anything for the people. So I felt like it was a benefit to the teachers and the schools to secure their jobs and their locations, but it was also a benefit to each individual taxpayer, because then your taxes aren't gonna get raised to pay for the school improvements and do another bond.
So you just made the point then that having that web fund was a good thing in this circumstance last year with the schools, right?
In the event that it was an opportunity to use it, yes. But
Yeah,
where does the fault actually lie in that? It actually lies on the schools, because they weren't prepared to handle the
budget,
necessary.
well, especially repairs and maintenance budgets, yeah. I don't know if they budget for that.
But I can't say that fairly, because I know that they're working with minimal money on a similar sized school, that a place with more tax dollars coming in has more to utilize. You know, I mean, that's not a judgment on what they're providing with their money for their education, as much as it is, you've known for 30 years that you're gonna need a new roof. Do you know what I mean? Eventually, these aren't permanent things. So to not have that built into the budget, that does fall on the school boards. So.
But we could address that later, we haven't
Yeah.
decided anything,
I
Norman.
just wanted to keep it on your.
I think you got an issue, I mean, that's something we should discuss. I don't know which way I would go yet on that. Cause some people, quite a few people are for the web fund, Norman, and some are against it. So half are for it and half are against it. So who do you go with?
But where's that money derived from?
Well, the windmills, of course, the lieu of
Where
taxes.
the windmills are located.
Yeah, but the people who own them get a fee from the windmills, so. This just tax dollars we're not getting, so we get this pilot money, payment in lieu of taxes. So, the people who own the windmills are getting paid by the wind company, so they're getting their share of revenue.
They also pay 30% business tax on the land that those windmills are sitting on. So they're being extra taxed on those windmills.
Well, the land's more valuable because they got that revenue coming in.
True.
Yeah, that's why, it's taxed higher. That's like river bottom ground's worth more than the pasture ground up in the rocks over here.
Their contracts do reimburse, the company reimburses them for the increased property.
No, I'm not, Norman, I'm willing to listen to what you say, about that, so. But I don't wanna make a statement now what I would do, I wanna think about it.
Well, I think the difficulty in making that decision, which we can research it, is, like I said, if you're trickling money from the fund into the general fund to reduce the need to tax to cover the general fund expenses, number one, as your general expenses meet that threshold of how much income you have, when that subsidy is no longer available from the pilot money, then you have that gap that you're either gonna tax for or you're gonna cut out of your budget. So you would have to have a spending policy that would reduce the amount of spending to actually come into plane with the amount of money that's available long-term after the subsidy is gone. So it helps now, but you don't want to create a deficit in the future, which all of our government in the state and federal level continue to create this deficit and then say that it's They say that it's the people that want the tax breaks that are creating the deficit when it's the people that are spending the money that are creating the deficit. There's such a backwards concept about that. So you'd have to have a long-term plan, and I can't guarantee 4 years from now, 10 years from now, that a future commission would adhere to that, and I could be making a detrimental decision to the taxpayers when their taxes get hiked to make up for the difference in what we have now become accustomed to spending. Do you see what I'm saying?
I didn't mean to draw it off that long, I just, it's a real simple question. You
Well,
No, but it's not a simple answer.
well, yeah,
No, I know it ain't.
Lex is
Well-
just explaining the pros and cons of both
Start
sides.
discussing
Be-
it among
because-
the commissioners.
No, but she has a very good point, because if we, say we don't, have a web fund anymore and we give all that money back to the general fund, say then because we have more income from the windmills, we can lower our tax rate then, but then if we do have possibly a,
But
emergency.
you have Ellsworth that you could follow and see how they're doing.
Yes, I haven't done the proper research to give you a real answer as to
Yeah,
what the
yeah.
plan has been for other areas. I just know what I know about the numbers, which is you have to have a long-term plan if you're going to do it that way, trickling from one fund into another.
Trouble is, we're never guaranteed what other commissioners after her and I are gone, what they're gonna do
Yeah.
5 years from now or 7 years from now.
Right.
So, you know, you can't lock something in for 50 years or 20 years even. But, I almost could see where we could do a portion of the web fund, go back to taxes, but still have a portion, like half of it. Say, instead of the web fund now, where that goes in there, say half of it comes back to the general fund and half of it stays in the web fund. That way we have a little bit of both.
Well,
But I'd have to think about that too. I'm just throwing something out there like that.
I'll repeat what I said earlier. I think there are specific expenses that we could use that money for that will save taxpayer dollars long term. I'm talking 30 to 50 years. You repair all the stone bridges in this county and make sure that they're done well. There, you just bought yourself that much time. Now, of course, you don't want them all crumbling again due to lack of maintenance over the next 30 years, but I can't control that. But I could necessarily make the decision to patch them and fix them and give them another, a second life. That, I think, would be worth expending money on.
I got another issue I'd like you to address. Landlocked property, access rights.
We are not
I've
allowed
heard-
to landlock property.
Huh?
We are not allowed to take action that would landlock someone.
You have to provide access, I thought.
Okay, do you have a specific,
Yep.
is it your property?
Yep.
We closed a road that landlocked you.
There was never provided a road there.
Well, if it was never provided, we're not obligated to provide one.
Well, that's what but I have another person that's in a county highway department, he says you do. So I'm asking you to look into this.
Can you tell me what section or what?
Oh, 36,
Where are you, in Vesper
yeah,
Township?
yeah,
Right here,
it's
36 there.
right in there somewhere.
By the creek there.
Yeah, that whole creek. I own rights to that whole creek,
Yeah.
and I own a piece right in the middle of it. We've owned it for 4 generations, we've owned it since 1899.
And it is deeded as a
Yes.
piece that has
Yes.
all property surrounding and there's no road to that particular. That's interesting. I'm not sure. It'd probably be one of those things where you have to research all the historical transactions of how you got the property because maybe at one time you also owned one of the properties that did get access to the road. No? That's interesting.
Well, how do you get there now? Just drive through
I
the
drive
pasture?
to the road, I drive off the road, drive across the property and get to the property from all 4 directions.
Yeah.
The owners that own it, they know we have access rights, but back then they didn't put anything on it.
On paper, yeah. Yeah.
I'm tied up in a whole section.
What do you have, a quarter back in there?
3.4 acres, but it's all trees. and
3.4 acres?
But it's a wildlife sanctuary in Hunter.
Deer hunting haven, huh?
I don't let them in there. But,
Let it die that way.
oh, it is. That
Lease it out, then you won't have to worry
If
about
you
it.
pay
Make a
enough
big
taxes
payment.
on that 3.4 and he'll build his own road, you might maintain it for him forever.
I pay
But I
76
imagine you know the one him to pay for the access.
76 cents in taxes.
76 cents?
Yeah.
That's a nice wildlife refuge.
Lease it out for, you probably get 5,000 a year leasing it, so deer hunters go back
It's
in there.
more fun to keep them out.
Okay,
So now you have to have aerial access, get a drone to drop you in,
a helicopter.
yeah.
No, I still got access, a verbal one.
Yeah, with with the current landowner.
Yeah. But that's what I'm trying to find out.
I talked to their appraiser's office.
They don't know anything. I've been there.
Do we have any more public comment?
Go
Unfinished.
on the highway.
Unfinished business. I'm gonna bring you that. I'll bring
Good,
you.
good, and we can,
Mhm.
next week, maybe
Yep.
we can push that. huh?
Yep.
I
Okay.
do have something.
Yes.
Just to give you a handout on restorative justice, that maybe the point is when you're talking over budgeting for the county attorney, that you might wanna look at how we handle the crime. And this is how Celine does it, and I'm on that, I'm currently trying to get my mediation licensing. And I've been working with them for 3 years now. And this is for lower kinds of crimes, so that they don't sit in jail, and that they have a way to do community service rather than having to pay a ticket or a fine to someone. So that's the information.
Okay.
And feel free to call them down there.
Okay.
I think it's time for
Okay.
Lincoln County to move into the
Future.
generation of the, yes, maybe you thought that too.
You know what, Randy? I would like to move forward with this company.
With what?
I would like to move forward with this company.
You like them pretty good?
I do. I think that it makes the most sense. I think they're most local. I think they are providing everything that the other companies did. And the first one that impressed me was Hub, but that's a fee on top of everything. The woman who we spoke
Last
with
week you
last,
were here, you were.
I know, but her
Wednesday.
fee was even more than them.
That's what I was wondering,
Mhm. This is commission based if we go with the regular cookie cutter plan, she said, which would just be what we're opting for if we go through a broker directly. Or they can do their specialized plan, which
Customized,
then we
yeah.
do have a dollar amount
But
fee.
I was wondering
She
the
said-
dollar amount compared to the others.
I'm
That's
gonna do the
one
math right
issue
now.
I would compared also to the, this guy here, you know, the one guy who was day insurance, him, you're not really interested in.
Well, say that again? 70? She said $25 a month, I think, right?
Per employee.
So that is 21,000. But if our savings is that great by choosing the individualized plan,
My concern is that she said that they didn't need to have a survey or any information to base a plan. My concern would be that we would get a lowball number the first year and 10 times the number.
which is what that lady said last week.
Mm-hmm.
She was very informative.
She was very good.
Yeah.
Wish you could have met
That's
her.
just my concern.
Yeah. Well, I heard everything she had to say. I mean, the only rejection I had for her was the price. But I guess this price, if we went with that particular customized plan, would
Could
be
we-
even heavier.
The Hub was quite a while ago, the first one. What was the price? Do you
It was
remember?
12,000 for the year, and that was pretty consistent because the county that I talked to was paying that exact rate.
And
Under
that's
about
not-
our size.
That's not a cheap first year and then escalating up
Mm-mm.
either.
No, but they don't do commissions
That's
either.
just to provide them their service, so that bill is only their service, that has nothing to do with their electric costs.
Wow.
The Hub, he takes
All of
commission.
them. All of them,
So Day is the only one that doesn't charge a fee on top of the commission. Is that what you're saying?
but he's getting a 3%, so your premiums are gonna be increased by 3% to pay him his premium.
Right, so is everyone else's though. Because the last company just said they're doing commission based if we take Blue Cross Blue Shield, but they're doing fee based by individual if we do the personalized plan, customized plan. You see what I mean? They'll do either or depending on what we choose. All the other companies, it was commission and then the fee for the month or the year.
I'm not against these guys. I think they're pretty good too today. But before I would want to vote on anything, we should probably review all four of them again.
Sure.
You know, because it's a big decision, and make sure what we, you know, the fees and all the, is it of 1 year and next year could go up thing, or is it going to be, you know, make sure we know what we're really talking about because it's a complex
Yeah,
issue.
and Dawn, I appreciate you bringing them all in. That was
Yeah, Don,
excellent.
very good. I thought you gave us a good choice of people here. Yeah,
Make
Cindy?
sure the people you choose are personable so that how they work with
Yeah.
employees.
Well, that's what I really liked about this
And
group
I really
today.
liked how I saw
Oh, I thought these,
people
but you know, I
visit.
thought all four
The
different
thing that
groups we,
bothers me about them is you have two cards and they didn't go into that.
To what?
They have two cards. They sell you a high deductible health insurance plan. And then the remainder amount of it is being paid by, you have another card. So everybody, it's almost like a person that has Medicare, Blue Cross Blue Shield. You give the doctor's office Medicare card, you give them the Blue Cross Blue Shield
Or
card.
a Medicare and secondary.
Their business card that they gave you is the second card that the employee will carry. So when she's saying that they're going up to the hospital and negotiating, contracting a price, then it gets you back into a benefit management plan. I don't understand all the details with it. All I know is I didn't really like what Smith Center said that they were doing, which was a self-funded plan, ultimately. Now, she did tell me on the phone that Smith Center is a little bit different because they wanted some different goals, but they're also older, yes, employees,
Demography.
thank you. The demographics are older, and so their ailments are more than what the younger population is. I worry that.
So then maybe we do need to just go with something like the hub company that was very much all inclusive, cumulative, and
they had quite a few services too,
Mhm.
to help HR and all this
Mhm.
stuff. The hub, what do you think of the hub, Don?
Honestly, I like all the companies that presented. I'm not so sure about the day and the brokerage part of it, just because we haven't been. I just don't want to get back to where we have a benefit management company like we had before and they didn't pay for anything. They tell you that they will, but then they didn't.
But that's the good thing about having a one-year contract.
Yes.
yes.
Now, I am a little concerned that she says she didn't need to know
Look
any of
at
her
the stuff.
experience
Yeah,
rating.
I was concerned about
Because
that.
that tells me that they're gonna lowball
But
the
he asked
price.
her to get started. I don't know that that means that the actual plan options are gonna be without this, because remember the one guy told us that, you can research that database of what medications you're on, just even as a starting point to see how many medications and how expensive they are being used by our particular group. So that, she'd have access to that, I mean, almost immediately. So I think that was more a question of like, how do we get started?
I think so too.
I think there would have to be the, at least from Blue Cross, since we've used them before, they would have historical data, so does Aetna, I guess. I mean, well, I'm not suggesting we make a decision, but I was really impressed with them as far as their PR.
Well, what gets me is, we have, in a way, I kind of feel good about it because we have all these other counties, in our neighborhood who've had them and keep them from year after year, so they must be kind of happy with them.
Well, and that's what
So
I
that,
felt.
that shows you,
Right.
you know, they're, must
Right.
not be doing something right, doing okay.
Right, and I felt that
Yeah.
from Hub too,
Yeah.
when I called, because they, as I said, the one clerk was just, she thought it was a great idea and she was gonna tell her commission to take HR out of her office. And she was really thankful for Hub as their benefits management plan, program company, because she has been totally hands-off. She said she doesn't have to answer any questions, in fact, she didn't even realize that she could send the employees directly to them. She has been kind of fielding questions that she didn't have to. But she said she didn't have to research it. She just asked them and then has the answer. So she's still been doing that part, which she doesn't have to do. You can give the employee the phone number and they'll call directly and then totally bypass your department. You just hold on to the information in case they need to know where to go. You're always available.
I like the idea that these people mentioned, the ones today, mentioned that they would talk to each department. That was really, really important, rather than a big group meeting where everybody's left to decide whatever. That means that they want.
More personalized care.
With a lot of people
Yeah.
that are willing to be here to do that.
The other groups were all the same.
They were all good, really. We had four
It-
good groups.
It's gonna be a toss-up, because I think,
And we're a little bit ignorant to the process, so that doesn't help us make a decision.
I definitely
because,
am.
Yeah, I mean.
if you're wanting 3 bids, and I think you guys need to pick a company, and then you tell them what it is that you want them to come back with. That's what's the struggle, and maybe it's the Blue Cross Blue Shield plan, maybe it's the state plan, maybe it's,
I think we can
combination of
say that we
several.
don't want to go self-funded right away. If that becomes an option for the county, great, we wanna use a company that can provide that to us. But I think we take the advice of the woman last week that you don't start off doing that because then you get yourself in a hole. Or you have expectations that aren't met. So, I mean, I would say I'm between Hub and this particular company. And what was the name of the guys 2 weeks before?
Day,
No, after that.
the Hub guy,
Oh.
The other guy.
No, just last week.
Rhonda,
Yeah.
Rhonda Rodriguez.
Yes.
She was very good.
Oh no, that's the woman last. That's the woman Wednesday.
Yeah.
I meant the guy before that came
That
to the
was
table.
Day.
Mark is Isley and
And you know, our
Day
Li-
Insurance.
Lincoln City has Day, and they were happy with him, but they only have 17 employees, so. But he supposedly, you know, they're happy with that too, but, you know, I don't know.
Well-
It's tough for me to know who would be best here,
Yeah.
because this is complicated stuff, all this insurance brokeraging and stuff.
Yeah.
and-
The thing that concerns me the most is, if you pull out that gal's business card, and I, you know, maybe this is something we can negotiate down. But on the backside is a sample of what they give their employees, and this is their deductibles. A generic prescription is $10. Do you know what I pay for a generic prescription now? $36. I just did the math for my family alone, it would be $360 more a month to have a generic prescription. Or
Why- how is that-
$360 more every 3 months.
But
because
how are
we
you
collect
paying?
payments.
How are you paying more with this if your generic price now is higher? I'm not.
Our generic price is less.
What?
That's what I'm saying. This is where your employees are gonna be, oh, I'm sorry. Okay,
Yeah,
let me start all over.
You said the opposite, yeah.
Sorry, okay, so I paid right now $36 for a 3 month, or 36 cents for a 3 month supply.
36
Cents.
cents, so.
36 cents right now. So when I did the math, it's $360 more every 90 days for this plan.
For this generic.
But what is your premium? Your portion of your premium that you're paying? Does it?
Do you know what Smith County is paying for their premium? $586 a month is the employee's portion. Now,
At like 90% coverage?
I don't know what percentage they're at.
But
But that's-
she said 100% for that one and 95% for the family.
Well, she didn't say which county though. She didn't say
No.
which county was
No,
which, but
she didn't, so I didn't call and contact the other counties. But that's where you have to be careful, because, and we're
you're
small
saying we don't want to
prescription
end up
users.
having our employees pay more out of pocket
Right.
to get their materials provided to them, prescriptions or whatever it may be, or copays, just so that the overall premium can be lower. But in all actuality, if our overall premium was that much lower, the county could afford raises in which that additional cost for their prescriptions isn't going to necessarily come out of their
But
expected income.
I don't think we're gonna really find that the premium's gonna be that much cheaper. I'm just gonna be honest with you.
Than the state, than now, you mean?
Yes.
Cheaper than now?
Yes,
And
I think
or
it's gonna be
someone
right
put
around the
some
same.
questions that you could ask the people you want, so, because that's a wonderful question to ask.
Yeah, we should do that, have some good questions here, and that way then, I'm
I
not
can just
against
tell
these
you-
guys.
No,
but-
no, I know,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
learning.
I
This,
can
I
just-
didn't
I'm learning.
understand what you were saying.
I'm learning too.
To
here.
our employees.
Okay,
Sure.
The
and if you
copays
know
are
that, I
important.
don't, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Those are the two things that are
Okay.
the most important. I can tell you what people have complained about the most is the $3,600 or $3,000 out-of-pocket deductible or whatever it is so high, it's like astronomical. 'Cause
For,
so you go to the doctor and you pay $40 for the copay, but if you go and you get x-rays, you're paying 100% until you reach $1,000 or $3,000 for a finger.
even on
whichever-
Plan A, Blue Cross Blue
Yes.
Shield?
Oh, Blue Cross is one of the highest, so,
Yes.
yes.
My family,
See-
we pay $1,500 a month for health insurance, and we also have deductibles and copays, so,
I know.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
self-employed people take it the
Self-employed,
entire way,
yeah.
so I'm hardly sympathetic right
Yeah.
now.
No, I know.
I'm hardly
Well, you should get a
sympathetic.
job, Mona, with insurance.
I have a job.
Well,
can tell you-
that pays you medical insurance.
Half of our employees are only working.
Just
here
joking,
because of
just
the-
joking.
Of the health insurance benefits.
But if an employer
Well, so,
gives
you,
you good
so
insurance,
Don, you're thinking we should make sure that the copay, or the deductibles aren't too high and the copays either. So like you say, what was it now, 25, you said 2,600 or 3,000?
I think it's 3,000.
Yeah,
I have a member, or I have 4 members on our plan because it doesn't do us any good to drop anybody off. So 1,000 I wanna say it's $3,000 with a combination of all four. But there are other plan options, and that's the thing, you know, it's hard because we would probably encourage some of the younger people to take some of those HSAs so we visit it. I would love to be on the HSA, but I can't be.
Yeah, well, see, that's just it. Some people may want a lower copay or a lower deductible, but then they may have a little higher premium. You know?
Yeah, and that's, I guess that's what I liked about
And
them
also-
talking about them, because they can sit down,
They-
you guys decide the overall plan, and
Right.
they sit down.
They could
and
customize it. Like if you're 25-year-old highway department road worker, them people probably, they could want a bare minimum. They could have a high deductible because they never go maybe, you know?
And they could be contributing to HSA and stuff.
Exactly. So everybody maybe have a different situation.
Yeah.
I don't know, we have to, but I'm for them too, I like them too. But maybe we should, before we make any, what happened?
Do you guys have the Alicia's, or I think that's what she said.
Yeah, I got one.
Could you tell me how to spell her last name?
Strother, Strother. Strother, I don't know.
STROTHER?
Yeah.
How did you spell her first name?
Alicia, ALICIA. You want her phone number?
No,
It's just for the-
ALICIA.
Yeah, Alicia, ALICIA.
Okay, so,
But I clearly don't understand this enough, because when I talked to her on the phone last week, she said Smith County was a little bit different.
okay. Well, and I'll make a phone call to some of these. We need to call our board people.
Yeah.
And then I'll make a phone call to some of these counties and see, just get a feel for. So, did we want to do a second meeting this week?
Do we need to? I don't care, I can, bro.
I don't really have anything, oh,
I don't have to.
I received a check for the nursing home from K-Camp.
For the
And
roof?
roofing, I contacted him because I hadn't received anything yet, but I haven't heard back from him. He said he emailed something last week, but it didn't come, and then he was on vacation.
Ray Ruffin?
Yes, so I guess my question is would you guys feel comfortable if I went ahead and signed it?
Yeah.
Would it give me
Please.
authority to-
Yeah.
We approve that the clerk
We got a check from insurance?
handles the insurance
Can you say
claim
how
on the
much, or-
nursing home.
It was $107,000.
Yeah,
So it was less than I thought it was.
good. I thought it was gonna be 120 or something.
But I don't know how much of that I need to get from K-Camp, because they didn't really say how much of that was equipment and how much was the roof, because I think the nursing home had some equipment that was needed.
Yeah.
So,
But did we own the equipment, or,
I think it was theirs, it was something to do with their network and the,
okay,
Okay.
like, getting signal from one area to the next.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, but if you, if you wanna do Ray Roofing, that's fine, or,
Okay,
yeah, you can, I appreciate it, thank you.
okay, I'll just.
If you were
take
too
that.
busy, I could probably do it, but you've been dealing with them, that'd be fine.
I'm
And if
gonna-
you wanted to get a,
I'm gonna assume he's gonna have a contract that we're gonna need to sign.
contract, sure.
Yeah.
And then schedule work order to go ahead,
Okay,
if it hasn't raining all the time. Sounds good, Don, very good.
okay.
And I'm gonna get back with these people that kind of been blowing me off here, this DH Space people about these Ashley, Sperry, and also Eric Johnson. They were gonna email me stuff and haven't, and it's been a week. So I'm gonna get on them too about these doors and, that stuff, okay?
yes.
And you'll have a Friday meeting anyways because of.
Oh.
It's a payroll Friday.
Oh, perfect, let's just do Friday.
Okay,
Sorry,
sounds good.
That, okay, and
Okay.
we'll determine next week with what happens with our District Two Commissioner. We'll go from there and decide with him if and when he's available, but I'll bring you that other stuff Friday,
Okay, good.
and then we can.
Yeah, we
move
can
on
review that too,
Mhm.
all right.
We can at least have a plan, even if we
Yeah.
don't go through with it, we can have a plan
Yeah,
to present to Mr. Gableman, okay?
yeah, we should probably.
Any other business to come before the board?
Excuse me?
Did you have a comment? or
Yes.
question?
How soon do you expect your tiebreaker to be in position?
We're thinking that the governor process that needs to happen may happen within this week or next week. So a week or two from today, he should be, do you have to do a ceremony? Are you gonna do swearing in?
Just swearing him in, but once we receive the notification from the governor, and I don't know when they mailed that, you know, if they got it mailed or they fax it, I don't really know how they do that.
So maybe Monday or 2 Mondays from today.
The reason I asked, I want to know when to come back in and see when we could get a resolution out of you, but
I'm in support of that.
Can we make sure that the agenda is on the website? I'm sorry, but that's what rather than having you contact me
We
directly.
try the best that we can. I actually thought I had posted it. I told Hannah, it's up there, and so I must not have hit save when I done it. But we'll try the best that we can, but I'm just gonna be
It's just
honest
a
with you.
public
Why don't
thing.
you just request it, and I'll add you to the email.
The reason is I can and I will,
Okay.
but that takes more work for you than just posting publicly.
No, it really doesn't, because I just sent a.
Just another attachment
A
on
mass
email.
email.
It's not just me that may want to know about
Takes
what goes
2
on.
seconds.
And I will say, Dawn has been
99.9%,
accommodating.
yeah.
She's been accommodating the request that I put in a year ago to do that. So I think there's been a lot of time constraint in the clerk's office lately with less help and all of these changes. And she's brought in new companies and talk. I mean, I know you're not
I'm just used to looking at it.
right,
I
and
know
it's
many
when it's
people
not there
are
all of a
looking
sudden.
at it to
Right.
see whether they even want to come to the meeting.
My
Right.
one request is how about we post one on the wall outside the room so that when we walk in, we can just look at it, just as a
Many,
public
this
copy.
is just
Takes
one
away
more
some
thing
paper.
for me to remember
Yes.
to do.
Yes.
But I can try.
Yes.
Or give it to them and have them do it.
I don't go home, that's the problem.
She's got a trailer up back that she has to live in.
It's not funny.
You go look under her desk and there's a pillow and a blanket.
No, that is the high pressure seat to be
It
in.
is.
There's
And, you know, when you go to other.
everything
counties,
always falls
commission
back on
meetings,
that.
they have an agendas right there that you pick up. So there is that. But thank you.
Well,
also.
we're working on getting some more structure and organization. We finally have a department head for our EMS that she was
It's
doing. We
been
finally have,
wonderful.
we are filling in things that she had been doing all along that weren't necessarily her responsibility. And it eventually catches up to everyone.
I think both
No one
of
gets
you
rid of that.
seem to work together, and as far as an audience, it appreciates that very much.
You're an alright kind of guy.
I am. Now I'll get a bad reputation.
Yeah.
Oh, you
Oh,
will.
no.
I'll be
Oh,
on,
you will.
I'll be on Facebook tonight.
We get there one way or the other. This is pretty positive.
I get along working with Alexis, it's just, we work, try to solve the business for the county. Simple as that, that's what I try to do. Nothing personal going on or nothing. Try
Today's
to
a
just
perfect
bump
example
it.
of the
Yeah.
conflicts that arrive that are completely legitimate because I'm elected by the people, therefore I'm supposed to represent their interests as groups, as they come forward as groups. And I try by individuals, but that's not as important as the groups that come forward because you see a common theme when a group expresses a similar mindset. So I have a portion of my district that all lives in the same area requesting something from me, and I'm going to do my best to provide that to them. Not at an unnecessary expense to the county, but as a representation of them. Because I think in the past we've had a commission that has been dedicated to protecting the internal workings of the county, not necessarily representing the opinions and the input of the people who are paying the bills.
The problem is not that fine line between.
It does connect, and right now I'm being viewed as someone who's not protecting the employees or anyone like that.
In the past, sometimes the chair has taken care of that stuff and others have not. So it's a fine line, and I recognize that.
And the pendulum swings both ways.
Of course.
So there will be changes and there will be things that get undone and redone.
From my position, I love how you how you keep on track and you run the meeting what I feel.
Well, I
like is
know
very
we've let certain
professional.
things get a little over discussed, but I'd rather know what people are thinking.
I think we're making headway here.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay, I will.
We have a lot on our
Now we
plate.
just get the
Yeah.
revenue money.
Yeah, you stepped right into the bee's nest.
Well, if we could get this nursing home thing, that would sure be,
I know.
then everything
And that's
else
been
would fall
lingering
into
for-
order. It will, that'll happen too.
So I am going to adjourn the meeting until Friday, which would be June 28th at 10 a.m.